one moment. No worries, I do that.
Yeah, that too. Thanks, Amber.
Good evening and welcome to the March 9th, 2026 pre-meeting. Are there any questions for this evening's agenda? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to council reports. Okay.
Sorry, I had a few things, but I mainly wanted to mention that I went to the chamber, the Westminster Chamber Government Affairs Committee meeting, and they did have a question around, and I know that Deputy City Manager Larry Dorr was there as well, and he kind of took it up, but I just kind of wanted to reiterate for the body. They had a question around House Bills 1221, 1222, and 1223, and the tax implications for Westminster, like Westminster sales tax implications. And Larry did say he would get back to them with that. I just wanted to throw that as well, like to let this council and this body know that people were asking questions about that, and we will get them more information. Hopefully, if we could get all copied maybe on that response, that'd be helpful, just so we know if it needs to be something that we take up as well. Also went to the Uplands, there was a tour that our community services department put on for those who could attend, and it was really helpful kind of getting some insight onto some of the building implications of both city, state, and national kind of ordinances and policies around building. And I know that Councilor Island asked some questions that we're excited for follow-ups on as well. And so if I would also like to be included on those responses as well, if and when we get those. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Island?
Okay, so I went to AC Rep this morning. They actually opposed 1221, 1222, and 1223. Okay. There is a new bill coming up from Senator Scott Bright about, and he says he has bipartisan support. It's child care funding that he's found to pay more of the co-pays for parents. It'll be 10 to 17% of their co-pay. And he's getting the money from the interest of the Family Leave Act, $43 million, and most of it's going to be funded to the counties to distribute. And I guess it's going to be income-based, but I don't know what the income is yet. We also was opposed was 1130 mandatory diaper changing stations in every public, private, business building, which amounts to about $5,000. And they were afraid that some businesses may just close their bathrooms because they can't afford it. So it was like an unfunded mandate the businesses were against. Those were the main bills that they talked about today, but there's other ones coming up, like the one I just talked about, child care. I went to the Uplands affordable housing apartment units. The thing I'm most concerned about is they're not getting filled. And the reason being is market rate apartments are getting almost as cheap as they are. They're like $200 a month difference, the developer said. And so he's having a hard time filling them, even though they're nice. But the cost is not much different. I talked to him about what regulations we're doing to building, and he said there's regulations from the federal government, the state, and the city that affected how much it costs to build affordable housing. So he's supposed to get back to me with those regulations and how much they're costing per unit. I did go to the downtown, took a tour, and we discussed the free parking and how that could work. There's a couple ideas, maybe just during the day it's free, maybe at night not. 2-hour parking, we've discussed many of things like that. How to vitalize it by having different, like, they have balloons down there in a couple of spots, but to have them all around that people have to find and walk through the whole downtown to find, that kind of thing, to vitalize it, and seating for restaurants outside. Those three things I know help with downtowns. And I'm going to take another class I saw for retail and see what other things they have for us. So I also went to Adams County, State of the County. We had a whole discussion about power, which was very educational. Let's just say that green energy is expensive. It's more expensive than traditional energy. They're trying to go toward geothermal and solar, nuclear. But the problem is a transformer takes like 5 years to get once you order it. We don't have enough linemen to lay the lines, and most of our underground infrastructure needs to be replaced. So utility bills are not going down based on what we heard. So it was educational, but it was also not good to hear. But anyway, we heard it. And that it was good to know what it takes to get the energy that we have. Anyway, that's what I learned. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you. Yeah. I did, a bunch of stuff, but the highlights for me were the PD promotional ceremony, and I really appreciated, that all the staff that attended, including having, some of the firefighters support their other public safety workers. And, something that I learned while being there is the promotional ceremony includes the dispatch workers, which I think is great because I think they're a critical part of that system, and they work the overnights and the type of shifts that all the officers work as well. And so it was well deserved, their promotions were, and the fact that they got to be recognized along with the PD promotions. I, along with some of the other counselors, went to do the downtown Westminster tour to talk about our development down there and what the city is investing in, and it was a great educational tour, and I appreciated the conversation around bringing the train stop over across 88th, because I think that's a great idea, and the vision that they have for it, and the investment that's done there has been terrific. And finally, I went to the Ralston House dinner with the mayor yesterday night, and we saw, several of our Adams County commissioners, some the mayor pro temp from North Glen, and a bunch of other folks. And it was a great event. I appreciated they appreciated the city's support.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Let's see, I attended Dr. Cog last week, but it was mostly just an update on the Charge Ahead incentive. So I would imagine our staff are aware of what the opportunities are with that. I did also attend one of my favorite conferences in the area. It's the Rocky Mountain Land Use Institute. And one of the sessions that I went to was about the value capture from transit in an area through other types of, the increase in sales tax revenue, for example, property tax revenue and the like, and being able to calculate what that is and to apply it back into the community as opportunity for increasing social equity. And so one of the examples that they went over was the Tucson streetcar, and they have a free fare that's provided, and their ridership is really just double what it even used to be pre-COVID. And I remember from our time in, when the free fare was, when we had the free fare available to everybody in the, along RTD, that I had spoken with the manager at Olive Garden, and they said, oh yeah, a lot of our employees used the transit and they didn't normally, but they sort of stopped once the free fare was gone. And so it got me thinking about, well, we have some transit areas, and how might we be able to get to the point of at least free ridership in our transit areas for employees and residents. And so I did call and bug Dave just to start thinking about, at least in the downtown area, there is a GID that we have. And is there some way that that GID could be utilized for neighborhood pass or something, like the RTD neighborhood, I'm forgetting what, Eco Pass? We weren't sure whether or not it could be something that the tax exempt affordable housing projects and therefore residents would be able to take advantage of, but more research to be done on that, because I know Boulder Junction has affordable housing and they have one of their mills within the GID there. I think they had 3 mills associated with their GID that allows them to, every resident, to get a free pass, transit pass. So I'm just trying to think of both in the Westminster Station area, although that GID is just for parking, but at least, you know, starting with the downtown, is that something that we could look at? So that was a bit of a long-winded ask, but I'd love to be able to get free ridership for employees and residents around the downtown site to start ideally utilizing GID as revenue source and looking into it at least, and hopefully getting our affordable residents the same benefit. So this is what happens when I, sorry. And then I guess I'll stop there. I know I'm trying to get more information about a fresh food opportunity. So that's just something that hopefully we can get invited Councilor Azadi to meet with me on that. So anyway, we'll look into it and see if there's anything that we could bring back. Yeah, I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. It was a very busy week. I also attended the Ralston House annual dinner that they had, as Councilor Johnson mentioned. That was fantastic. And for those who don't know, they are an excellent organization to support in our community. They serve our abused children. And while they are all the way in Lakewood, they do serve our constituents here in Westminster. Yesterday, I had the honor of attending the Nepali Women Thrive International Women's Day celebration. It was really incredible. It was, goodness, I think 4 hours long, but there was dancing and there was a overwhelmingly impressive panel of women. There was attorneys and doctors and lawyers and a woman who climbed Mount Everest, and we got to hear from some really remarkable people. So with that, I just want to wish everyone a very happy International Women's Day and month. And so a big thank you to them. Also, their center is over on 76th and Bradburn, if you haven't taken a look. It's very impressive, and they're still building it out. They're still working through some permits, and they let me know that they're going to sit down with me soon. So just be ready for some notes on that. And then I also attended that downtown development opportunities tour, which was very interesting, getting to learn about, as Councilor Ireland mentioned, we talked about the parking. We also talked about how to activate some of the spaces that are not built out yet, you know, while we wait for things to come. How can we use the land? How can we get people in there in the meantime? And maybe through art, maybe through, you know, there's a space right beside the Alamo we might use soon. So that was very exciting. Also attended the AC Rep State of the Region for Adams County, and that was very interesting. Lots of discussion on energy for sure this year. I attended the Jeffco quarterly breakfast with City Manager Andrews, and that was very interesting. We had a presentation on our unhoused initiative, the IGA that we formed with Jefferson County, and they promised that they would be coming back to us in about April to get us together again and kind of re-meet, visit what we've accomplished, and then see where we want to go from there. Attended the PD promotion ceremony. That was a lot of fun, so congratulations to those officers. Lots of good cake. And also attended the Porchlight 5-year ceremony. So big congratulations to Porchlight. They've made it to 5 years this year, and they also do incredible work serving constituents in our community for women, often survivors of domestic violence, and their children. And I like to just do a quick shout out to some of the organizations serving our residents. If you're looking for someone to support, these are organizations that can use your time and your money, and it's highly valued. Because of that conflict, I had to miss the Jeffco Sip and Support Gala, but I promised to attend next year, trade off. And then I had the honor of being invited to Read Across America, the event, I think it was Tuesday, and was invited to Mesa Elementary, read to a whole couple classes, actually, not just a class, of second grade students, and that was so much fun. It was really exciting, and they're, climbing all over you while you're trying to read a book, but it was a lot of fun. It was really great. So it's been a really fun week. All right. With that, we have a couple of presentations this evening. So let's move on to presentation 1, City Manager.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Chris Lindsay, and Chris, jump right in.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Chris Lindsay, Assistant City Manager. We're going to try to briefly cover 2 items before the meeting starts this evening. The first one is around a request that the clerk has received from both county clerks and recorder to hold a joint voter service and polling center at City Hall this November. A voter service and polling center, or a VSPC, to save me a few words, is a physical in-person location where someone can register to vote, update your voter registration, request a new or replacement ballot, drop off your voted mail-in ballot, or vote on an ADA accessible ballot marking device. Both of the counties identified a need for a joint VSPC in the area of 92nd and Sheridan, which is right outside. This would allow for especially some coordination. So when an Adams County voter shows up at a Jeffco VSPC, or a Jeffco voter shows up at an Adams County VSPC, they could have both of those staffs and voting machines, and more importantly, ballot styles right here. This will create a couple of operational issues that the city manager will address around parking, queues, and security, and additional security needs. I'm here tonight because I've got a recommendation that if we seek to have the VSPC at City Hall this November, that we cancel the study session that's going to take place, or scheduled to take place, on November 2nd, to allow voting until 7 p.m. that Monday evening here at City Hall, and additionally give our security folks a little bit of a breather that evening, since we're going to have extended hours and more security here in the building. So my 2 questions on this item: do you desire to have a VSPC at City Hall this November, coordination with both counties? And then if yes, are we comfortable if we cancel the study session on November 2nd?
Okay. Councilor Zadi?
The county's paying for any extra stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm good.
Good question.
Yes and yes.
Councilor Bras?
Yeah, since the counties are chipping in, absolutely yes on the first one. I can say yes to the second, though I'd like a potential caveat that if we need to reschedule, if there's something urgent that we need a study session for, we could potentially schedule, if council allows, kind of maybe just asking the question, if we could have a study session on potentially a different day that week, just farther away from that election. I don't know, just, I guess maybe is my answer to the second one. Yes, but with the caveat, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm fine with it unless we need a study session, like he says, if there's something really pressing.
Okay. Councilor Johnson?
Good on both.
Excellent.
Yes and yes.
Excellent. Okay, you have a majority by far for yes and yes, and of course we'll make accommodations if something comes up.
Thank you.
Yes.
The second item I would like to cover tonight is around our travel next week to the NLC Congressional Cities Conference. As part of that, I would like to introduce Mandy Lemig. She's our A Policy and Budget Coordinator in our Policy and Budget Division. She's the leader of our federal advocacy program, and she's a tracker of all of those community request criteria that especially we've been seeing in recent weeks from our federal offices. For the 4 that are traveling, you have a folder in front of you with the travel information that's been compiled by our city clerk's office and by Mandy. We have scheduled meetings this year that are confirmed with Representative Evans, Representative Pedersen, and also with the Chief Counsel of the Federal Aviation Administration. On Monday, we're working to confirm appointments with both senators as well. We'll see if that happens. This week, this year is a little bit different than what we experienced last year in DC. Next Monday turned into a travel day for those members of Congress. So many of them are coming back into DC. And then Tuesday is St. Patrick's Day, which sounds like it's quite an event in DC. So there's a lot less time for appointments to take place this year than there were last year. Within those packets, we have a little bit of what we'd like to share with the delegation members that we meet. Certainly, we want to thank them for their support of previous earmark requests that we've made and earmark requests that we've seen. We have been working within the criteria that we've received recently to come up with projects that are unfunded that meet new criteria. So you'll see those in those packets as well. And a couple of notes in there to help guide our conversations with the FAA as well. We are working to have a dinner with the group. However, it's a little harder to schedule this year. We just learned that Congressman Pedersen's office is looking to potentially host a happy hour with those folks from her area on Tuesday night. So if that gets confirmed, that'll probably take the place of the dinner we had scheduled. We could do a dinner on Monday night. However, CML's welcome reception is also that evening. So we're open to any feedback that you have there as well. And lastly, I would note that we've scheduled a tour at the Library of Congress. Mandy has scheduled a tour at the Library of Congress on Tuesday at 3 p.m. We have timestamp tickets there. We'll meet together and commute there. Mandy also scheduled tickets at the National Archives, and the Supreme Court is open. If anyone would like to do it, those are all-day tickets. If you have time in your schedule, we can coordinate those for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thoughts, questions? I'll just add, I think that the dinner is nice to have. I also think that schedules are short, and so traveling, if we're comfortable using Congresswoman Pedersen's happy hour as our get-together, unless there's any objections. I don't see any. I think we're good. Let's not overdo it. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, then with that, it is 6:55, and that concludes our pre-meeting, and we will see you all at the dais at 7. Good evening and welcome to the Westminster City Council meeting of March 9th, 2026. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please remember that our meetings are governed by the rules of decorum posted inside the chamber doors. We ask all attendees to maintain a respectful environment. No disruptions, threats, or audible expressions of support or opposition are permitted. Signs and placards are prohibited, and all attendees must remain seated in designated areas. If you wish to speak during public comment, please sign up in the lobby. Sign up closes at 7:15 p.m. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Barajas.
Present.
Mayor Carmelia.
Present.
Councilor Zadi.
Here.
Councilor Hott.
Present.
Councilor Ireland. Here. Councilor Johnson.
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Here.
Thank you. That brings us to our minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 23rd, 2026 City Council meeting as presented.
Thank you. Councilor Barajas.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. That moves us on to our presentations, and we have two proclamations this evening, and the first will be led by Councilor Hott.
If I could have members of the Inclusivity Board. Let's see. All right. So this is for Nowruz Day. All right. Whereas residents of Westminster, Colorado recognize the celebration of Nowruz, making the Persian New Year, and whereas the cultural celebration of Nowruz promotes inclusivity, social and environmental justice, and reminds all people who celebrate to speak, act, and do positive deeds for their community, contributing to the world regardless of ethnicity, ideology, or lifestyle. And whereas on March 20th, 2026, the City of Westminster recognizes the Persian American community in celebration of Nowruz, making new beginnings for people as nature renews itself, and whereas the community sets intentions for love, health, abundance, beauty, reflection, growth, and enlightenment, and whereas Nowruz Day connects the Persian community and the community at large. Now, therefore, I, Claire Carmelia, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim March 20th, 2026, Nowruz Day, and call upon the people of Westminster to join me in recognizing this momentous occasion in the Persian community. And then would you like to introduce yourself?
So I'm Rich Chamberlain on the Inclusivity Board, also a member of the Baha'i Faith who also observe Nowruz.
Alan Farb, also a member of the Inclusivity Board.
All right, thank you so much.
Can we get a picture real quick? So okay. One all together?
Here, do you want to?
Okay.
One on each side?
No, I think it's kind of.
Right there. That's great, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Councilor Johnson will read the next proclamation.
It's on. You gotta stay up here.
Yeah.
You had to call us.
Yeah, welcome back.
And may I say a word when it's
Yeah, of course.
just
Of course. So thank you, everyone. Tonight I'll be presenting the proclamation for Eid al-Fitr. Whereas Ramadan is recognized worldwide by Muslims of multiple cultural and ethnic heritage as a holy month of fasting and spiritual renewal, and whereas Ramadan lasts 29 to 30 days based on the timing of the crescent moon, having started February 17th, 2026, and ending after sunset March 20th, and whereas the conclusion of Ramadan is commemorated as Eid al-Fitr, which translates to Festival of Breaking the Fast, a joyous occasion marked by sharing sweets, gifts, and good tidings with family and friends and neighbors, and whereas Westminster has a thriving Muslim community whose members contribute to our city as doctors, nurses, teachers, small business owners, volunteers, students, and more, and whereas the American Muslim community reflects a broad range of ethnic, racial, and cultural backgrounds, including many Muslims Americans tracing their roots back into the African slave trade and African diaspora, and whereas recognizing Ramadan provides an opportunity to acknowledge the long-standing presence of many contributions of Muslim Americans residents to our community and our nation. Now, therefore, I, Claire Carmelia, do hereby proclaim March 20th, 2026 as the end of Ramadan and affirm our city's commitment to ensuring that our city remains welcome and compassionate, and that we pursue policies that respect the dignity and rights of all people, regardless of race, religion, immigration status, or country of origin. This signed the 9th of March, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one word, if I may. I contacted the Metro North Islamic Center to ask if they would like to come receive this proclamation, and it just so happens that they're breaking their fast as we speak, so they really didn't want to come at this particular time. But I did promise to deliver this to them, and will do so. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's get a photo.
Thank you so much. That moves us to public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for the public to address council on any issues or items pertaining to city business. During public comment, each speaker will have up to 3 minutes for their comments. Staff will follow up with questions and outstanding issues. There are no public hearings on tonight's agenda. City Clerk, would you please report the number of email and voicemail comments received, the number of individuals signed up to speak this evening, and then call the first speaker?
We received no voicemails, 1 email, and we have 6 people signed up to speak. The first person signed up to speak is Ted Bollinger.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi, my name is Ted Bollinger, and I am here to gauge interest as well as initial reactions and gather comments, questions, and concerns about an idea for policy that I may have for the city of Westminster. Currently, with our current political climate, people may be disheartened by the idea of politics. However, I would like to introduce a policy that would help bring the people of Westminster to more lighthearted news regarding politics. My idea for that would be to introduce a bill or policy that would force the mayor of Westminster to wear a funny hat while in office. Now, this is a very silly idea and premise. However, I do believe there are actual positive benefits to this, besides making the mayor wear a funny hat when they don't want to. For one positive benefit that I saw would be that it would help bring local community more invested within local politics, as well as it bring much needed positive media attention to Westminster. Just imagine Channel 7 News, as well as other local media, gathering on this lighthearted story in these hard times. Now, I mentioned how we might bring local people into local politics. The way I imagine that would be how we would select the funny hat for the mayor to wear. My idea to select the hat would be have a contest every election cycle with local elementary school students, where they would all design their own hats. And then we'd hold a local contest to decide which hat was most popular. And then with the winner, we'd design to an actual hat, and that would be the funny hat for the mayor to wear. That is currently my idea, and I believe that It would also be a great addition to our students' social studies curriculum, as it would help them learn more about local governments, how laws and policies are actually made, as well as be a fun activity I believe they would enjoy. Now, I open the floor to questions, comments, and concerns.
Thank you.
Do I sit back down or stay up here? Or
You may be seated. We'll have the next speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is William McCann.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is William McCann, and I'm a long-term resident of Westminster. Public comment and City Council comments give residents an opportunity to understand what their elected officials truly believe. So tonight I invite every member of the City Council to reaffirm a fundamental principle. It is the first duty of every level of American government, from federal to local, to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. And an affirmative response will make that commitment clear. Silence, equivocation, or disagreement will make your position clear as well. As an American citizen, I believe that Westminster deserves leadership that puts our public safety first. I hope that we will hear your commitment of this idea tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Christine Wares.
I'm Christine Wares. I own Kokopelli Beer Company. I'm here on behalf of our center, and thank you for letting me speak today. We have had a problem in our center for the last month, mainly our parking. And I wanted to address a few things. We have tried to fix some things over there, but when two of us, the rodeo and ourselves, by the cities govern as far as parking for our particular businesses, the event center is 550 and I'm in the 90s, and we have less than 400 spots. And it has been a problem, and it continues to be a problem. They put signage up. However, the signage is illegal because it is not in English and Spanish, so they cannot lawfully be towed for parking in the wrong place. The signage also says event parking. Well, Kokopelli does events. We have our Valentine dinner events, so it's confusing our customers as well. We have had troubles with getting in and out of the center because they're blocking access. We have reported that, but we are told it's private property. So then there is the issue of food vendors. We have reported it for 4 weeks now. A trailer that was not licensed, period, in the state, does not have health certification. I just had my health certification. We passed, we pay for it. We are not allowed to continue serving food if we do not. This particular trailer was asked to move. It moved around to the back and continued to sell food that night. We are noticing people coming in and drinking on the way in and discarding their cans and bottles in the parking lot on our patio. We do know that it's 18 and over. There are a lot of young ones coming in. We have a picture of one of the younger ones getting sick into a trash can about 6 feet away from the little food carts that are now starting to come in. There was also a 10 by 10 put up across the street with vendors selling jewelry and stuffed animals. So, I mean, this is all I didn't think was legal, but it's happening, and we're seeing drinking in vehicles. We have had a fight with the Akibara group, and we'd just like to see something done. It's been a month, and I can't continue to run my business this way, and several of the others in the center are in the same boat. So signage doesn't work, they park there anyway. As soon as I put security out, they fill up the spots. So thank you very much for your time. hopefully we can get it solved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Donna Werkheiser.
Up here a couple months ago about some dilators.
Please speak into the microphone there. There you are.
I was up here a couple months ago when they first put these dilators up, saying that they were dangerous. I'm sending pictures of cars that about 1 in 5 cars can make that turn right. I have several pictures of cars that are going over the yellow line or riding the yellow line. The dilators are bringing the traffic in from the other side, so you have to wait to make your right-hand turn until that lane is clear. Otherwise, you don't know if you're going to hit the other car. The reflector's already messed up on the other side. And it's actually, they're having a hard time making the right turn the other way, too. I was up here like 3 years ago complaining about the come-and-go wall behind my house. I know Obi recognizes me. So all the neighbors come to me, say, hey, do something with this. So this is my second time up. I'm showing proof that this is not working. I know come and go was a problem because the planning, made a mistake and rubber stamped or didn't know what they were looking at when they put the wall up, because now we have a new wall that was done right. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't seem like a big problem. Just move some of those dilators. So hopefully we'll get it done. I mean, it's the city, it's not like you're dealing with the corporation that's telling you, no, you can't have this done, and making excuses why you have to have it done because somebody screwed up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jamie Chavez.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jamie Chavez. I'm the President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Over the past 11 months, through our partnership with the city, we have worked intentionally to bring life, energy, and connection to downtown Westminster. With just 1 month of planning, we launched activation over a single weekend, hosting 6 events in 3 days. Since then, we've produced 51 events in downtown Westminster, attracting more than 5,000 unique visitors. But what those numbers really represent is something bigger. They represent families dancing at summer sounds, children running through kid zones, neighbors meeting for the first time at Harvest and Handmade, and residents who asked, when will something be happening down here, now are saying, I'm so glad there's finally activity. We intentionally built a balanced calendar, 16 signature community events, 15 retail and business activation initiatives, and 20 interactive and public space programs. These aren't just gatherings. They were designed to draw people into businesses, and we are seeing that impact. Tappenberger reported up to a 25% increase in revenue during concert nights and a 207% increase during New Year's Eve. Vatos Tacos has reported noticeable increases during major activation events. Our Bite into Downtown program generated an estimated $3,500 to $4,400 in total economic impact in a single event. The Elf Scavenger Hunt created over 600 business interaction touchpoints and generated direct sales for every participating business. Beyond direct revenue, we've created something that is harder to quantify: momentum. Downtown Westminster businesses have expressed that for years. Ideas were discussed but struggled to move forward. Today we have consistent programming, consistent engagement, and consistent visibility. From a fiscal stewardship standpoint, the $300,000 agreement has funded 51 events and counting. Just 3 years ago, a single small holiday market would cost $50,000. Additionally, the city has not had to dedicate staff resources beyond collaboration and approval processes, allowing this work to be managed efficiently while maintaining alignment with city priorities. We've also achieved 120,000 plus social media views, 9,000 plus accounts reached, nearly 4,000 page visits, and 465 new followers focused specifically on downtown Westminster. But most importantly, we have created space for community, space for small businesses to thrive, space for families, and space for Westminster to feel like Westminster. Activation is not just about events, it's about identity. It's about creating a place people choose to gather. We are proud of what we built in these 11 months, and we believe this is truly only the beginning. Thank you for your partnership, your collaboration, and your continued investment in creating a vibrant downtown Westminster.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tom Lampo.
Welcome.
Moved it. Got it. Good enough? All right. All right, hello to Westminster, I'm Tom Lampo. We're living through some incredible times. I've stated it before and I'll state it again. We're living through a spiritual battle that is manifesting itself in the natural. God has already won the battle, but our enemy is determined to cause as much harm as possible. In the end, we'll see that God is correcting what has gone wrong and bringing us to a better life. I'm here to lift up Westminster to the Lord in prayer, so please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, we ask that you be the God of Westminster. You are always welcome here. You're the Lord God Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. Nothing happens without you knowing of it first. We submit all things to you. Ephesians 1:21 through 22 states, "Now he is far above any ruler or authority or power or leader or anything else, not only in this world, but also in the world to come. God has put all things under the authority of Christ and has made him head over all things for the benefit of the church. You answer to no one. Your authority is above all. We are dependent on you. Father, we lift up to you all members of our military and their families. We are living through times we don't fully understand, and our military has been called upon. Our leaders have determined this to be the best course of action. Let our leaders be mindful of the lives they are commanding. Ecclesiastes 9:18 states, "Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one bungler destroys much good." And in James 1:5 it states, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Let those making decisions be dependent on you. Let them seek wisdom from you in every decision they make. Keep our military personnel safe and grant them wisdom as they perform their duties. Father, we lift up to you the children of Westminster. Your word states in Psalm 127:3, "Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Protect them as they go about their days. Let them be aware of their surroundings and avoid compromising situations. Guide them in their thoughts and actions and make your presence known to them. Above all, let them know your word contains truths that will assist them in navigating this world. You are our God and we are your people. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys. Have a nice night.
Thank you. That was the last speaker.
Thank you, speakers. City Manager Andrews, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a report this evening. I could have the next slide, please. This is a big one for the community. By way of city update, we are hosting an open house for the future of the Uplands Public Parks. So our very own Westminster Parks, Recreation and Libraries Department is seeking the community's feedback this week, this Wednesday, March 11th, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the MAC, which is at 3295 West 72nd Avenue. So please drop in. That is a drop-in format, so there are no presentations. There's no start or end time. That's a bracketed time to drop in and share your ideas and help guide the planning and design of 7 parcels totaling 40 acres dedicated for future public park sites in the Uplands neighborhood. More information is available at the link below, which is westminsterco.gov/1175/Uplands Park Open Space Master Plan. You can go straight to our main page and connect to this. So again, this Wednesday, 5:30 to 7:30 at the MAC, if you want to have a say and make some suggestions as to how those 7 parcels totaling 40 acres of park space will be programmed, please drop in and give us your input. Next slide, please. I have 3 slides on tonight's agenda. Of course, the pre-meeting items have been covered just prior to the start of this meeting. That was a discussion of a voter service and polling center at City Hall, and we did receive direction from City Council to proceed with an Adams County and Jefferson County joint voter polling station here at City Hall for this upcoming election in November. We also had and covered the 2026 National League of Cities Congressional Cities Conference briefing. For tonight, we also had 2 proclamations this evening: Persian New Year, Nowruz, and Eid al-Fitr. Both proclamations received by our representatives of our Inclusivity Board. Next slide, please. For City Manager's report, I have 3 information-only items in the public packet tonight. The first is on waste diversion initiatives in Westminster. The second is on open space ecosystem management. It's an overview as well as a review of pollinator practices. And then thirdly, an update for our community and City Council on water supply and drought update. There's really rich information in all 3 of those, and if folks haven't read those, please have a look. Some great material in there and some important updates for our community. On the consent agenda tonight, we have 9 items, including 2 second readings. Excuse me. And under new business, we have first reading of Councilor's Bill 7 that amends the Westminster Municipal Code following the Colorado Supreme Court decision in People versus Camp. Next slide, please. We also have this evening Westminster Economic Development Authority meeting, or a WEDA meeting. And the new business item up is agreement with Westminster Chamber of Commerce for activation services in downtown Westminster, and that ties into comments from Jamie Chavez, the president and CEO tonight of that chamber. Also, we have post-meeting presentations. There are 2. These are part of the ongoing preparation for our budget process and are entitled 2026 Department Budget Roadmap presentations. The first of those will be our police chief presenting on the police department, and then next will be our HR director reporting on human resources department. We have 1 executive session item later. There were 2 agended, one if needed, and that is not needed this evening, and that's regarding legal advice regarding collective bargaining matters. We will pick that up at an agenda item soon, but not tonight. And then there is an executive session, which is a discussion of a personnel matter, and that's the quarterly check-in for the city manager. Next slide, please. This week is a busy week. On Tuesday, tomorrow, March 10th, there's a Planning Commission workshop on the Unified Development Code. That's right here at City Hall beginning at 6:30 p.m. On Wednesday, March 11th, as I noted, is the Upland Public Land or Parks Open House at the MAC. That starts at 5:30 and runs through till 7:30. And we also have on Wednesday night a Youth Advisory Panel meeting here at City Hall that starts at 6 p.m. On Thursday, March 12th, Parks Recreation Library is having its Open Space Advisory Board meeting. That's at the Walnut Creek Golf Preserve, and that begins at 6 p.m. And then on Saturday, March 14th, and this is a big one, this is the event we've all been waiting for, One Book Westminster. The book this year is Burn, and that is with author Peter Heller. So author Peter Heller will be hosting for us an author's talk. That's at the City Park Recreation Center, running from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. again on Saturday, March 14th. Next slide, please. Our next meeting of City Council will not happen next Monday, the 16th, because we do have a delegation of City Council members heading to the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference in Washington, D.C. to meet and engage with our federal legislators and come up to speed on all things federal. The annual conference it runs from Sunday, March 15th, all the way through Wednesday, March 18th. So many of your City Council representatives will be in D.C. Representing the city's interests. And then our next meeting of City Council will be Monday, March 23rd. So that'll be the next regular meeting of City Council. Next slide, please. As always, you can contact your city at Access Westminster through the app or directly, westminsterco.gov/Access Westminster. Give us a ring during office hours, 303-658-2400. We have a great website, westminsterco.gov, and on that website is our transparency portal, westminsterco.gov/903/transparency. Next slide, please. That was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for City Manager? Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, thank you. Very briefly, for the city manager, I saw that we're going to be moving to drought watch. I wanted to know the notice protocols for when we get close to stage 1 because of how low our water pack is. And, you know, I'm just not familiar with and didn't read in the packet how much in advance as we start to move closer to that stage 1 water level are we going to provide notice, because I think it's likely that we're going to have to get there.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. We give as much notice as possible in reviewing the data and past practices, as well as tracking to prior data. We're probably, if we are heading into a drought declaration or drought watch, it would be likely in early to mid-April, so we'll have ample time to give warning to our community and what that means. The good news for Westminster is our conservation efforts and education work is ongoing and quite sustained relative to some of our peer communities in the Front Range, and so our community is generally pretty activated around conservation and drought awareness, and so we will have enough time to give advance notice should the City of Westminster be looking at drought notice invocation. We are aware that some of our neighbors are already doing that, and the difference with Westminster is we do have a very different water rights and water supply portfolio, so we compare that to the water pack, or the snowpack I should say, and the projections. It's just too early for us to call it now, but we will be in that position within a few weeks. Yeah.
Okay, and then I had well, that was my first question, so thank you for answering that. And then our recommendations, thank you to our sustainability team for conducting the research that they did on our waste hauling systems and the recommendations on virtual data tracking software. I wondered, did we conduct any study on how much that might cost us? Or are these recommendations going to be coming forward with a little bit more background in the future?
Mayor, thank you for the question. That's a great question. Both of those are great questions. We are planning to come back to City Council in a study session format to go through these recommendations. The recommendations in the memo, I wanted to get to you early so that you could start to go through those and see what the students that we partnered with at CU found out about Westminster when they looked at our practices. And so that's an information briefing, and then when we come back with study session, we'll have an idea of the cost implications or resourcing requirements for these initiatives should council wish to pursue any or all of them.
That is very helpful. And then I'll just give a shout out to the students that did the work. Very big thank you to them and congratulations to them. I ran into them, I think, at least 3 times over last summer at different events throughout the city, and you could tell they were energetic, enthusiastic, they knew what they were talking about, and the fact that they were so engaged when they were just doing a project for us was just amazing. So great job to them. With that, let's move on to council comments. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I have a couple of quick things to say and then 2 polls that I would request of council at this time, and I can be brief with them. But the first thing I wanted to say is, understanding driving down the road today, looking at the gas station, I was laughing because I was actually watching the price go up. It changed twice as I was driving down the road of gas because of, I think, a lot of global uncertainty. And to me, that is a very tangible and physical reflection here in Westminster of a lot of turmoil and uncertainty that's happening around the world. And I want to acknowledge that here on council, while we can't control all of the uncertainty, I have felt very, very energized by the fact that we have such an engaged council that is so responsive to whatever changes we can see coming and react to them in a way that's appropriate in order to make sure that we minimize the disruption to people's lives here. So I wanted to say appreciation to the council members and also an acknowledgement of the turmoil that's happening in the world today. The two polls that I would request of council are, the first one is on the topic of directing our city manager to bring forward a change in the structure of what he is authorized to contract in the amount of up to $500,000. As you see on council's agenda tonight, it's heavy, and that's a ton of staff work. And obviously, I read the packets, but I think in terms of workload, it would be better to create an ordinance or pass a policy that we could bring forward to council that would allow the city manager to have more authority to contract, and at the same time provide notice to council that doesn't require the staff workup when he is contracting of the amount between $250,000 and $500,000, but not needing to work up the entire staff memos for anything under $500,000. So I can pause there for the poll, or I can say the second one. We can pull both right away.
I will pause there for the poll so we can keep things clear and separate. This is something that has been thrown around in the past and has been up for discussion. And at this point, we would not be voting on a motion to do this. I don't think. It sounds like we would be taking a poll to have the city manager bring us more information about what this would look like. If that sounds appropriate. Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and take a poll. Councillor Ireland?
I'm a no. I think that's the responsibility of the council to look at contracts, making sure there's 3 bids, all of that stuff. And I'm cognizant of all the taxpayer money, and I want to see it before it's approved. So I'm a no.
Yes.
Yes, I think that we, through the budgeting process, have a good idea of what our CI, especially these are projects that are kind of falling into big like IT, purchases and things like that we see coming in through our budget process. I think those bigger ones that come in, like major street improvements and things like that, we still end up seeing those because those are typically higher, like $1 million plus. So I think it strikes a balance, so we should at least take a look at it and see, kind of, maybe it would be helpful to know what the project types are so that everybody can kind of feel comfortable with kind of when do we see them and what are they typically covering. Go ahead.
Mayor, thank you, and Councillor Johnson, thank you for raising that. If it pleases council, I could bring back into a meeting an exploration of the data behind the contracts, how much time it takes to prepare those for council, and then an analysis of different levels of approval that council might consider changing to. 500 would be one of those. There may be another option we could come up with that you could review, and that way you could explore the data behind this, this, and then we could set you up with a recommendation that would be serving your direction.
Thank you. I am in agreement with that. At least you're looking into it for similar reasons. I'd love to see, what type of projects hit that limit. But similarly, I've looked into cities that don't have a limit and then cities that have a lower limit, and just getting the information from yourself would be helpful. So I'll let the rest of the council speak, though, since half of us had a chance.
I'm a yes to the city manager's recommendation for the workup.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Johnson. I'm a yes. I'm particularly interested in the cost savings for staff time around these and ways that we can still potentially pull back important ones that we think, if we're notified but not maybe worked up, that we can still maybe either bring for council approval or at least bring for council attention, some sort of workup. But if that's all included in this exploratory process, I'd like to know more about it and then see if that's something that can save staff time so we can continue kind of deeply engaging the work of staff around this.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. I think city manager has what he needs. Counselor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My second poll is related to an agenda item later that we are going to vote on, which is Councilor's Bill number 7. In the pre-meeting, or in the study session that we had before bringing Councilor's Bill number 7, we discussed a lot of processes and protocols related to how we're going to move forward with the implementation of the camp decision. And in conversation with the city attorney, one of the conversations that I think is important to have is in parallel to the camp decision, but not directly informed by that decision, and that is a handful of municipal-only offenses, which post-camp decision have drastically different sentencing guidelines now from the rest of our code because the way of our current sentencing guidelines work, as well as criminal implications for offenses that we typically don't even as a city and our neighboring cities don't have. And so what I would like to pull on is to bring forward in a study session the city attorney's office and anyone else that the city attorney thinks is appropriate, but put on a study session agenda for April a conversation around updates to that municipal code related to the criminalization of municipal-only offenses and give direction at that meeting to the city attorney for a potential draft ordinance on that update.
I'm going to speak for council and the public here when I ask for, can I get 2 more minutes of clarification in layman's terms?
Yes, of course, Madam Mayor, and thank you for that. I try to keep it short. But the camp decision requires that all of our criminal offenses in our municipal code that have state corollaries, for example, theft is an easy one, which is the one in the camp decision, have to meet the sentencing guidelines of the state. So, for example, petty theft is a maximum of 10 days in jail. The way our municipal code was written, we have a blanket sentence of 364 days. So for any offense in our code, you could be sentenced to up to 364 days in jail. What the camp decision did is it ratcheted down all of our sentencing requirements for all of our state corollaries, but it did not touch our municipal-only offenses. So the one we like to talk about, which is like a code abatement for your grass being too tall, that is an offense right now that theoretically you could be put in jail for 364 days, whereas theft is now only 10 days. And so in light of the camp decision, I think it would be important for this council to look at the way we are adding criminal sentences to our municipal-only offenses and provide guidance to our city attorney on those municipal-only offenses which are outside of the work that his office is doing for the camp decision.
Thank you. I will go down the line to take a poll as to whether we would like to look into having this on the agenda for April. Is that what the ask is? Okay. Would we like to look into this topic for April?
I have a question. So would we be determining what the time frame is for each offense?
Can I go or do I have to?
I believe I'd like our city attorney to answer that.
Sure. As Councilor Johnson points out, so the camp decision applies to specific offenses that are identical in terms of our code and state law. So there's another set of offenses that are set forth through the municipal code. And my understanding is the desire is to have a conversation about those offenses and how they should be treated, what types of penalty provisions should there be. And, I can say, it's going to take some research to pull all of those together because I think as we discussed last week, they don't all live in the police regulations title of the municipal code. One example, as Councilor Johnson points out, is abatement of nuisances and code enforcement type charges. So if council is open to having a discussion on April 20th, and if that works with the city's agenda, we haven't cleared that date. So I defer to the city manager's office and the clerk as to whether April 20th is the day. But yeah, it would be the question of wanting to have a conversation and talking about these other municipal offenses.
So is that something we can determine, or does that have to be on a ballot, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah, the offenses are set forth in the municipal code, and so they are adopted by city council by ordinance. So yes, it's within council's discretion to modify the penalty provisions for the offenses that are in the municipal code.
Thank you. Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm in favor of doing the thing, but I'll leave the timing of that to staff.
Agreed. I'm in favor of putting this on the agenda, and of course, when we can accommodate it. Councilor Johnson?
Yes.
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 Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Other council comments? Councilor Barajas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I mentioned a few things that we did this week during the council updates. I wanted to make a special note about the AC Rep State of the Region that myself and a few councilors were able to attend with you as well, Madam Mayor. And we got a lot of demographic there was a lot of topics, but one of the ones that I was most grateful for was the demographic information about the growth of Adams County. I was kind of floored by the professionalism of that presentation, along with how those demographics potentially could feed into our educational and job needs, and how those education and job needs flow back to the residents who require kind of the business that will flow from that. So I just wanted to note that there's this kind of ongoing conversation regionally about those things, and I was kind of humbled to in conversation it's a continual realization for me, but how Westminster is uniquely situated to be not only a participant but a leader in multiple regions of growth, planning, and development. It's obviously common knowledge that we sit in 2 different counties, but we also partner with very closely with Broomfield County and obviously Denver as well. And as there's kind of development and growth kind of happens around us, we are quickly by necessity becoming partners in all of these relationships. And so I'm grateful for Adams County, for AC Rep, and the commissioners that were there in continuing that conversation. And I just want to say, for the residents and for this council, that it's something that I personally take seriously, and I know that this council also takes those partnerships seriously. So just kind of wanted to echo that kind of on both sides. Also, just from that demographic presentation, it was put together by the community college, Front Range Community College, and I was grateful for that presentation. I wish I could have recorded it. I do have the slides from it if anyone is interested on this council to learn more, and I'd love to share that. But I'm very interested in if anyone from Front Range Community College is listening, I'm very interested in city partnerships, particularly around pertinent educational opportunities for this council to dig into, especially when it comes to kind of future-proofing our city and planning on demographic changes, but any other kind of expertise that sits there. I just kind of wanted to state it publicly. Obviously, I'm a fan of education. I'm a big fan of higher education, and I am just an active and willing participant. And so if this body or anyone kind of represented there is looking for further collaboration, you have a willing partner in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ireland?
Hello, thank you all that came out tonight to speak. I appreciate participation in the city. I'm concerned about Copapelli's and the parking lot over there, and hopefully we can find some answers for that, because thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't know we were having such issues with parking and businesses that weren't licensed doing food preparation over there. So hopefully the staff will get back to you. Also, Donna Wilser about the violation, having these pylons or what I would know she talked about it before about some safety issues, and hopefully we can be updated to what's transpired there and why we haven't been able to do anything for that. William McCann, thank you for coming. I know you're concerned about American citizens' rights, and so am I. I believe that security is important, but I also believe that upholding our Bill of Rights is important and my duty as a city councilor and a public official. So those are all important to me, and thank you for Tom Lampo and his continued prayers. We need them in this world, and I appreciate all of you that came out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hott?
Yes, I would like to thank the young gentleman who came to talk about his silly hat idea. I really love to see people getting involved in local politics, and I think that it's wonderful that you had such a fun idea and came to share that with us. So hopefully we can do something about that. And then I also want to thank the resident who came to speak on traffic issues. I also want to thank the Chamber for everything that they have done with our downtown activation. That's so important, and hearing the numbers of how it's helped some of our local businesses in the downtown, that was really exciting. And then I also want to thank the owner of Kokopelli's for letting us know what's going on. And then I have said this before, and I will say it again, I am here for all residents of Westminster, and that includes our undocumented immigrants. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Azadi?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone who came out tonight. That is a great idea. Thanks for bringing that forward, the crazy hats. I'll be curious to see how that develops, so looking forward to it. I wanted to make an announcement related to the food drive. So every year I host an annual food drive for Westminster. Last time we sought to feed 1,000 families in Westminster, and we ended up feeding 6,300. So almost 9,000 pounds of food. This year, I'd like to make this a much, much bigger drive. So I'm planning on partnering with a lot of businesses, organizations, and the planning for all of that will begin in April. So just mentioning this again, if anyone's listening, any residents are listening, if you'd like to participate, please reach out to me. It's a big deal for the people who need it, and I think there are a lot of people in need right now. So if you're able, please help. And if you want to volunteer, we could use all the help that we can get. So Jamie, Chamber, I'm looking at you. We have a lot of partnership opportunities across the city, and we can make this a much bigger drive. And related to the Constitution, I agree with Councilor Hott. The Constitution provides key protections for due process and equal protection for all people. So as a citizen, as an American citizen and a city councilor, my duty is to protect all residents, whether you're housed or unhoused, whether you're a citizen or undocumented. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ireland, you had one more point?
Sorry.
Oh, no.
I thought the hat idea was up to our mayor if she wants to look funny or not. I'm glad it was her.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you as always to all of our speakers. We had lots of folks out, and I believe that our city staff has been looking into the issue at Kokopelli, and so hopefully we'll get some sort of update on that soon. If not regular patrol, then what else we can do on that. And I think that we're also looking forward, to make sure that we prevent this in the future. We've already had a discussion last week as to how we can try to make sure that we mitigate and be responsible with our event centers. So we're doing the best we can, and hopefully we can get some quick answers over to Christine. I know that you'll follow up as well on the dilators. And I don't have much to add there, but hopefully we can do that in a timely way. And let's see, I can't read my own notes here. Well, and then I would say, as to the funny hat, I actually love that. So my number one priority since becoming mayor has been, and our city manager well knows this, but it has been to engage the community in new and creative ways, in meaningful ways. What will get people outside? What will get them to communicate with the city and engage with the city? The more that you engage with the city, the more educated we all are on how our local government works, and that is the case for all of our residents. That's what I'm really hoping to do, but especially so for our kids. So thank you for the creative ideas there. And then when it comes to my duty as someone who is representing this city and my duty in protecting to the best of my ability everyone in this city, I will reaffirm that it is my job, it is my sworn duty I upheld when I took office to protect every resident of the city to the best of my ability, and I take public safety very seriously, and I will continue to do so. So with that, we will move on to our next item. We'll move on to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
I move to approve consent agenda items 8A to 8I.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson?
Second.
Thank you. We have moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk, roll call.
Councilor Barajas.
Yes.
Mayor Carmelia.
Yes.
Councilor Zadi.
Yes.
Councilor Hott.
Yes.
Councilor Ireland.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Thank you so much. There are no appointments or resignations this evening, and there are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. We will now move on to new business, beginning with the first reading of Councilor Bill number 7. Do I have a motion for item 11A? Councilor Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill 7A on first reading with the following amendment: reordering the subsections to place the final paragraph D second in the ordinance to position B, with an amendment to what becomes C, referring to both subsections A and B, amending Westminster's Municipal Code Section 181 of the Westminster Municipal Code following the Supreme Court decision in People v. Camp to comply with the state law.
Do I have a second? Councilor Hott?
Second.
Any further discussion? Councilor Barajas.
I just want to reiterate how important it is for the council to be taking on these sorts of things. This is the kind of, the whole process is a step-by-step look through our municipal code, and it's the intent is not only to follow the law, but I also think there's a prudent measure fiscally so that we can avoid kind of lawsuits that from not following the decision, and ensuring that everyone is also treated justly under the law as well. So I think this kind of dual purpose is really important work, and I'm grateful that for the city attorney's office and for this council for taking this work seriously.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, well, I will also add that this is something I'm really excited to be passing here tonight. It's something I brought up early last year when this was in the Colorado Supreme Court, and I'm very grateful that Councilor Johnson has done the work to bring this forward, and that we now have the support to get this through so that we have more equity throughout our city in how we prosecute local crime. With that, can we get a roll call, please?
Mayor Carmelia.
Yes.
Councilor Zadi.
Yes.
Councilor Hott.
Yes.
Councilor Ireland.
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Yes.
And Councilor Barajas.
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. That brings us to old business, and there's no old business this evening, which concludes the business of our City Council meeting. We will now convene as the Westminster Economic Development Authority. And the time is now, I don't have my... 7:58. Thank you, 7:58. And our open meeting is concluded, and we will now reconvene as the Westminster Economic Development Authority, pulling in the roll call from our original meeting. Okay, roll call will now carry over from our regular City Council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for WIDA? Mayor Pro Tem Dermella.
I move to approve the minutes of the November 10th, 2025 WIDA meeting as presented.
Thank you. Councilor Barajas?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Board Member Barajas?
Yes.
Chairperson Garmelia?
Yes.
Board Member Azadi?
Yes.
Board Member Hott?
Yes.
Board Member Ireland?
Yes.
Board Member Johnson?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Nurmela?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Thank you. And there is no public hearings for this evening, and so we will now move on to new business. Do I have a motion for item C? Mayor Pro Tem Dermella.
I move to authorize the Westminster Economic Development Authority Executive Director to award and execute an agreement to furnish activation services with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce for activation in downtown Westminster for a 12-month term from May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027, with the option to renew 3 12-month terms following the initial 12-month term and a not to exceed amount of $300,000 per term.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilor Barajas?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Ireland?
I have questions about it. So I would like to know how much more sales tax we generated last year than the year before with what we did with this 300,000. Did we have those numbers?
Welcome.
To answer your question, I would need to ask my staff to look at the year-over-year sales tax differences to find a correlation there. Also, we do have Ms. Jamie Chavez, who's the president of the chamber, and she did speak with many of the retailers in downtown to gather some anecdotal evidence of the impact of those events on their businesses and how that's improved traffic, foot traffic, and so forth. So to get the detailed numbers, unless Ms. Cronenberg has it, you do?
Well, I just have a few more.
Absolutely. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Cronenberg.
Heather Cronenberg, Real Estate Development Manager here at the city. Councilor Ireland, that is something that we're talking about, how to better track this coming year if council were to approve this. We do have some information that Mrs. Chavez shared earlier, but a little bit more information to add to that as well. What we did is they reached out to each individual business owner to understand if they were tracking and what information they could provide. So at this level, it's a little bit of a case-by-case basis, and that's what we're trying to figure out is how to better track across all of downtown for this coming year. So we will be working on that again if council approves this. But they did it, we heard very specific information around certain activities, and that's what they've been able to track. So for instance, as Jamie mentioned, some of the specific ones, the holiday lighting ceremony, 2 of the businesses represented that they had about a 25% increase. There were Bite into Downtown Westminster, I think was mentioned about a 15% increase. So again, though, they were specific to the individual businesses, and we're trying to figure out how to sort of roll that up into overall metrics for this coming year.
Yeah, I would like to know if it's working. Like if it's generating sales tax more than the year before, that it's working, but we don't have those numbers, so it's hard for me to approve this. I think my suggestion to have free parking. Also, I would like to know if it's going to generate more sales tax, because really that is what our optimum, what we need to do for this city to make that area succeed. It's not going to succeed just an event and then no one comes back after the event. They have to keep coming. We want them to keep coming. And so the 3 suggestions I had, outdoor seating, and to offset the cost of that free parking and the revenue that we generate. Some of this money should be going towards that, in my opinion, not all to the chamber. until they can prove to me that they are generating more sales tax. I can't approve something that I don't know the real numbers and just keep throwing money at it and approve it for 3 more years. I need numbers. So I will not be approving it till I know the facts, but thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nermello.
So I'm excited about this contract. I think I do agree that it would be great to have better tracking, and so hopefully we can see that year-over-year increase, especially as I think the number of events is planned to increase with this contract from last year. So I'm hoping that we'll see even more impact, and I think this is vital. Any community that has a downtown, they're putting some dollars into it. I think that, to help vitalize it and to keep it, with activities. We talked originally about having 200 activities in the downtown over time, someday, right? But this is a great seeding to that, and I appreciate that we have partners in the business community that are willing to help get this off the ground, and hopefully it'll take form where we're not putting as much money into it, but that we can just watch it grow. But I always think that we're going to be putting something into the downtown. We made the baby and now we're me to feed it. So I think this is a good start. So thank you. I'll be voting in support.
Thank you. Councilor Johnson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for bringing this forward. At strategic planning, we spoke a lot about a connected city, and I really think that this is a financial commitment to connecting our downtown, so I appreciate the work, and I will be a very enthusiastic yes.
Thank you. Councilor Barajas?
Thank you, Chair, Mayor. I'm not speaking up. I'm not entirely sure what, since we're meeting as WIDA, what kind of direction I can give as a counselor. But I agree with the voices that we've heard around data. I wasn't on council to approve this and didn't kind of qualify the data that I personally would like around it. So I feel kind of conflicted on using prior council's direction for something that I kind of would and would not approve. But 2 things that have kind of been mentioned, but certainly data around the activation events in terms of regular days versus activation event days, and also just year over year on that continual piece. On my other role as a city councilor, not on this WIDA board, I think that we, if we do approve this, we also should we have a responsibility to make decisions that improve, whether it's around free parking or the outdoor seating, that we have a responsibility to kind of pursue both. And I'm very much a fan of kind of a parallel pursuit. I also am really interested in leveraging free events sort of thing, or free kind of low-cost activations. And so I think this is great seed money to potentially kind of grow those roots, grow those fruits. But also if there's ways that we can continue that connectivity at a low cost, I would be very interested in kind of the Chamber's perspective and our Economic Development Department's perspective on that, just in ways we can do that low-cost connectivity, maybe recurring book clubs, things like that can meet there, or little low-cost things that work in concert as well. Finally, I think there's maybe potential for check-ins around this activation throughout the year, whether that's from staff or from the chamber, where we can kind of continue to give direction. Maybe we're seeing something or hearing something. So I think that would be helpful, maybe those future touch points, where we can also request data that we might not foresee we need right now that can continue being collected for the renewals and approvals. Those are kind of my thoughts. And with that in mind, I would be a yes as well on this.
Councilor Rosati?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for bringing this forward again. So I strongly supported the original partnership with the Chamber, and I'm proud to support this again tonight, this extension. because activating downtown is critical for lots of reasons. When we invest, and this leads to a really important point, when we invest in this manner where we're investing in local businesses, we're investing in the downtown, we call it economic development because it's critical, right, to increasing foot traffic, increasing business, strategically activating the neighborhood. My hope is for the listening public, as we continue to explore new ways as a council to invest in the community, we're looking at bold investments to not just help businesses, which is what we're doing here, but to help the workforce, right? To help residents, to help the customers. Because when you have a healthier customer base, or a healthier, more sustainable resident base, they become customers and they help the local economy. So everything works together and everything is intersectional. And I want everyone to keep an open mind. This is a creative way. This specific item is one creative way that we're looking to activate the local downtown, but there are other ways to activate other parts of residents' lives that we're also looking at. Whether it's childcare, whether it's housing, utilities, groceries, right? So we're looking at creative ways of helping both sides of the equation, and I think both together will work really well to helping the local economy. But I did have one question, sorry for my long rant. Parking. I love the concept of free parking. And so specifically, how much parking revenue did we receive in downtown last year?
Thank you for the questions. We received approximately $95,000 in revenue from parking in the prior year.
Have we looked into this concept of free parking yet?
Yes, Counselor. The staff has definitely heard, and we've already begun working with our parking team, our parking management team, which is also conveniently within community services. So we're all in the same family tree there. And we've been working together and talking with our parking supervisor, operations supervisor already. I'm very impressed. He came up with a very impressive plan for how to quickly re-sign, move forward with allowing for that free parking. Right now, we're just doing some final modeling on the differences between 2 hours free versus 4 hours free, and then also understanding the time limits for that and how that might impact the revenue coming into the parking fund, parking enterprise fund that we collect from there. But we just, we're all on the team to make downtown successful. So everyone's rowing in the same direction. I just want to be really clear about that we're all trying to find a solution. And, it's more important to us that we keep the businesses viable and keep the economic vitality and that engine moving downtown versus, of course, we're going to try and have the least amount of impact to our parking enterprise fund. But, I just wanted to let you all know that we are underway with that, and hopefully we'll be able to come back with an info-only memo, or if you'd like the body would like a broader discussion about it, we're happy to do that as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be all the time free parking, right? But you could target it to all these events that were talked about. You can have free parking downtown during that event, right? So you can kind of market it really well. But thanks for the work that you're doing on this.
Thank you.
Councilor Ireland.
One more comment. So what does it cost to run this parking down there? I heard the cost is higher than what we're bringing in.
Yes, Councilor, Board Member Ireland. Yes, that is correct. The enterprise fund is not revenue positive. It's not making a profit in any way. But I do want to share, we have a very small team. We're covering the entire city. The city owns 2 parking garages in Westminster Station and downtown that we fully maintain and operate. Also all on-street parking, all calls. We get about 50 to 70 calls a day for the parking enforcement team throughout the entire city, all of Westminster. So we have direct expenses that we can tie to the operation of the garages and parsing off certain portions of time of the officers that are spending time in downtown, just on downtown patrolling. But we do have a majority of that is washing across the entire city. And now with Who's and the nice weather, we've seen just an enormous amount of need for those parking enforcement officers to be out in other parts of the city as well. We could come back to you with an estimate, but in broad stroke terms, you're absolutely correct. The parking is not a moneymaker for us in downtown, but we are covering some of our costs.
So have we looked at having free parking all day and at night no free parking, and just when the businesses are going? Seems like that'd be the least expensive way to traffic it.
Yes, that is correct. We are definitely looking at that model. Yes.
I just know from living at the Orchard area, it used to have parking meters, and the activation has gone up tremendously since we got rid of those. So I've already seen it in person, so I imagine it would work down there too. And also I've given ideas about, we have the balloon theme, having balloons throughout, so people have to find them, so they have to walk throughout the area and see everything down there. And that's another thing that costs money to do. So that's why I have a problem with sending it all to the chamber if we're not really getting that activation every day. I mean, it can't just be at events. We got to have it all the time. People coming back, not just coming to events. So I would like big concerts. I think they work well at the Orchard. And I don't know what the cost is per concert, but that would be something to look at and bring back. Anyway, just ideas thrown out there that I've seen work. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do like the idea of if it's possible to track the sales tax revenue. I know that might be a difficult ask, but that's a great KPI for sure. So thank you for some of the numbers. I really do appreciate hearing the fact that the businesses were able to provide an actual percentage of uptick due to events, and 25% is nothing to sneeze at. That is really significant, and I think that right there is proof, right? I mean, that's a huge number. So I just want to add that I have been blown away at the ability of our chamber to respond so quickly, like was mentioned, within a month, at getting together ideas. It was that weekend they set things up for us to enjoy, and at the creativity and commitment that they have shown in seeing this through and ensuring that the community is activated somehow through, I'll use different words. I was going to through thick and thin, shall we say, and in all sorts of weather, they have made sure that residents are out there, and they've done things from yoga. That was not something I'd ever thought of. I love the live music. I've been trying to figure out ever since I got on council, how do we get more live music in this city? I see folks nodding. I mean, that is just something I am committed to, and I cannot wait to see more. So thank you for all the work. And it was already mentioned, connectedness is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to engage with people, and we're trying to, it is hard. Times are hard. We're trying to improve morale, and we're trying to invest in our businesses all at once, and this does all of that. So I'm really excited to approve this contract and to see it go over on a rolling basis. City Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
I have a comment.
Chairperson Carmelia.
I'm sorry, we have a little further. Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Sorry.
Sorry. Once you mentioned parking, it goes on forever. I just wanted to make sure we still have the free parking in downtown, because I park there all the time. So we have free parking in all of our lots for the first 4 hours. So those lots are on the very southwest corner, south of the hotel. They are on the west side of JCPenney's. They're on the north side of the Alamo Draft House and the whole garage. So if you're like me, you know where all the free stuff is. And please let the community know that we do have a ton of free parking already in downtown. Thanks.
Thank you. City Clerk.
Chairperson Carmelia.
Yes.
Board Member Azadi?
Yes.
Board Member Hott?
Yes.
Board Member Ireland?
No.
Board Member Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Nermella?
Yes.
And Board Member Barajas?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 6-1 vote.
Thank you so much. With that, we will now move, the time is now, one second here. The time is now 8:19, and that concludes our WIDA meeting. Before we move into our post-meeting, City Attorney, would you please read the title of, into the record for the post-meeting executive session? And we now will have one session instead of two, as the second that was agendized is not needed. It was scheduled just in case, but that second is not needed, so we will read the one into the record.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed executive session is a discussion of a personnel matter. A quarterly check-in for the city manager could be convened pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code 1113C1 and Colorado Revised Statute 246402 4F1.
Thank you so much. We will now move into the post-meeting presentations in the council boardroom.
Before you do that, if I could ask council to vote on whether or not to convene the exec session after the post-meeting items conclude.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and vote. Councilor Zadi.
Obi, is that a yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. That now concludes our open meeting, and we will now go into the post-meeting presentations in the City Council boardroom. Thank you.
2026 priorities are and how they serve the city's strategic plan.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, those in the audience and those online, my name is Norm Howard. I'm the police chief. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight and give this presentation. With me tonight is our business operations coordinator, Cassandra Otis, Deputy Chief Dave Lester, who's in charge of operations, and Deputy Chief Dean Villano was with us in spirit tonight. He had a family emergency late and had to run out, so wish him our thoughts and prayers there. But moving forward here with this tonight, as we look at the city org chart, I'm over on the right side there, and I answer directly to City Manager Jody Andrews. So I'm the only department director that answers directly to him. The other department directors answer directly to the two deputy city managers. That can be good and bad. So it's usually a good thing, but it's one less line of bureaucracy. So answer right to Jody. So if there's concerns or issues, those are addressed obviously immediately from me to him and vice versa. So it's a good direct line of communication. As it relates to the overall PD budget and staffing, the police department's basically broken into 3 divisions. First, you have the administration division, which technically I'm the department manager of that division, if you will, on paper. It's a very small division. It's a division of 6. We basically focus on policy, budget, and communications. As it relates to the other divisions within the police department, the operations division is by far the largest division. It's 167.5 FTEs. And really, if you think of the operations division, you're talking about anybody in uniform, all uniform personnel. So patrol, traffic, animal management, co-responders, anybody that's usually in a uniform is going to be in the operations division. Specialized services division is 124.3 FTEs. That is more or less all non-uniform personnel, if you will, within the police department. So you talk about police records, emergency communications or the 911 center, investigations or detectives, and technology. And technology includes application specialists and body-worn cameras. So that's kind of where that is housed. One of the things that we did last year, obviously at the behest of council, but through the direction of Jody Andrews, is looking at positions within the organization that we could repurpose or reuse. And we reclassified 2 positions last year in preparation for the 2026 budget. One of those was a professional staff or a civilian accident investigator. We had 5 authorized, but we had difficulty in filling the last position. So we came to council and through the budget process reallocated that or repurposed that position to a police officer FTE, which was reclassified several years back when we were having issues hiring police officers, but we were still having traffic issues, which we still continue to. When that officer is hired and in the mix, that officer will be assigned to traffic. So the traffic unit in and of itself will remain at the same staffing, just replacing an accident investigator with a uniformed personnel. The other position that we reclassified is we had a vacant public information officer. We still have the public affairs coordinator, who is our professional staff. We reclassified that to a crime lab supervisor. It's been in the news, obviously, that Colorado Bureau of Investigations has had some issues with their crime lab, and a lot of that, in my opinion, came down to supervisor oversight and what was or wasn't done. Not that that's everything, but it's realizing that where we are headed with technology and DNA and all those other scientific things that maybe aren't the best suited for police oversight, we absolutely need a supervisor, so we reclassified our public information, one of those positions, to a crime lab supervisor. So we're in the process of hiring, actually in the process of that process as we speak. So we continue to look for opportunities to repurpose and reevaluate and make sure that when we're asking for something new, that we've looked under every little nook and cranny to make sure that we're using our tax dollars appropriately. as we continue on to the next slide here, some of the priorities for the police department in 2026, obviously maintaining our core service delivery that the community has come to expect from the police department, while still responding to evolving operational demands. You know, one of the things that I'd like to highlight is we continue to be ABLE trained. ABLE training is active bystandership for law enforcement. It's a program out of Georgetown University that gives officers another tool in the tool bag to be able to de-escalate situations so that they're not involved in the use of force, and primarily they're not involved with another officer where it becomes an excessive use of force. So to be able to use a tool in a tool bag to talk themselves out or to talk the other officer, giving them some cues to get out of some of those potential jams. Obviously, we have our post-required training, and then one of the other things that we're looking to do in 2026 is replace our 911 phone system with a new, it's called the Carbine Apex. I'm sure it's fantastic as it relates to that. I don't know all the details on that, but that funding actually came through the JCECA, which is the Jefferson County Emergency Communications Authority. So that is something that we have access to part of those funds because we are in Jefferson County. That is a 911 surcharge or tax, if you will, on all cell phones within Jefferson County residents. But that is something that the city does have access to. It's got to touch physically 911, so it's not something that we can just use as free money as it relates to that. But if it's directly related to 911, that is something that we can use. So we asked them, went forward with this request, and so that is it's more than $1 million, but that will all be funded by the JCECA. So that's not coming out of city tax funds. It's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. It's not always obviously an option, but we pride ourselves on in looking for other revenue opportunities that we're not always coming to the general fund to fund all of our projects. We continue to implement our functional fitness program this year to enhance mobility, reduce injuries, and support long-term tactical readiness and wellness. We kicked this off with the patrol folks this year on January 1st. We will continue to evaluate that here through the first quarter, but ultimately our goal would be to have that program for all personnel within the police department. The idea of that is to reduce injuries. It focuses on stretching and major muscle movement so that we're not getting into, especially as we age, not getting into replacing shoulders and replacing quads and pecs, and that all that stuff is healthy when the officers or the professional staff continue to move towards retirement. One of the things that we will also continue to do, and I know council has asked about this, to research the feasibility analysis for implementing the AVIS camera system to improve traffic safety. We contacted 3 of the companies. They provided us the speed studies, and so really we have an update meeting with us internally this week. Really, I think the next steps here would be to work with city attorney's office to bring back ordinance language that would allow those changes, and then from there look at the speak with our partners in procurement to see what that is actually going to entail. I think if we were to continue to move forward with that, we would probably have those up and running within the next 6 to 9 months. So assuming that that's still the direction for council, we will still continue moving forward with that. Some of the other items that we continue to move forward with here, more on the technology side, is we will probably be back with council here later this year for an amendment to our Axon contract. One of the things that we did in 2026 is we added Draft 1 licensing, which is artificial intelligence, which helps the officers write their reports. It takes all the body-worn camera footage and the narrative that is captured within the body-worn camera, and it's taken about a 30-minute video, and it transcribes it and puts it in a report, and it's taken about 3 to 5 seconds, which obviously cuts down on what the officers are spending time in writing their reports. They're still responsible for going through and making sure that it's accurate, and then they kind of have a sliding scale that they can use the artificial intelligence to, I want 90% of my report done, and it's pages and pages long video, or it's very short and succinct. So it kind of depends on the situation and the call that they're in, but it's an opportunity for us to use artificial intelligence to make us more efficient. And then the idea of that is so we're back out in the community patrolling and running radar and preventing crimes. We will also continue, the other thing that we did with the Axon is we went to the Taser 10. It's a new and improved Taser. Instead of 1 or 2 shots, if the officer needs to use it, it's a less lethal tool, but it gives them up to 10 shots that they can keep using, or if the dart misses, they're able to use a new dart, if you will. So the opportunity there, the idea behind that is that there are hopefully less opportunities where lethal force is not used, and we can employ this tool multiple times. Back when I was working the road, which has obviously been a couple years, you got 1 shot, and if you didn't get it, you had to go to another tool, that type of thing. But this will give you multiple shots within the same time frame to hopefully reduce that opportunity. We will continue. We've implemented our cadet program, which serves the youth in our community between the ages 14 and 20 years old. We have 12 cadets currently. We're looking to expand that program. It's been very popular, both with the officers and the young ones that we're starting to serve there. So it's been a neat thing to see. New programs that we're working on, we in 2026, we get some funding for our cold case investigations, which has allowed us to send off additional stuff for DNA and for genealogy testing to see if there's other opportunities for us to explore in some of our cold cases, and continue to work with the Adams County District Attorney's Office, working towards our Family Justice Center. I'm chairing a working committee with the Thornton Police Chief to understand how operations are going to work as we continue moving forward with that. Some of the factors that influence progress, both positive and negative. Some of the positive ones, we've been very successful in awarded grant funding when available to help fund our projects and initiatives. In 2025, we had about $750,000 worth of grants and other outside funding sources to help fund some of those things. We continue to use data-driven solutions instead of the I think or I feel. It's what does the data show as it relates to calls for service, hours of operation, and when to work on our shift deployments. We continue to leverage our partnerships with other outside agencies and other community members, both with the school districts, with West E, Jefferson County, and Adams 12, with both DA's offices, as well as the Chamber of Commerce. And we've also continued to have success in recruiting officers and attracting both lateral and recruit officers. Proud to say that we actually hired an additional 5 today. So we had 2 lateral officers and then 3 new recruits that will go to the academy here starting in April. So we continue to work hard on that. Bringing today, with those hires today, we're at 192 sworn personnel. We're authorized 197. So we're very, very close there. That's the good news. The not so good news there, or one of the challenges there, is we currently have 8 that are on medical leave. We have 6 that are in field training, and we have 8 that are in the police academy or getting ready to go to the academy. So on paper, we're very, very close. But in reality, as it relates to a full-time FTE, we still have some room to grow, and part of that is just the attrition when you hire somebody and the length it takes to get somebody fully operational. The 3 individuals that we hired today that will be going to the academy in April, if all is successful, they will be a full-fledged officer on their own, able to respond to 911 calls in about 11 months. So it does take some time, but obviously, hiring good quality individuals is where we're at there. Some of the constraints and competing priorities there as it relates to some of the other factors. Sustained overtime requires trade-offs between service delivery demands, employee sustainability, and obviously available budget funding. That came into play last year when we look at our overtime budgeting for the PD. We were way over as it relates to our overtime budget. We were able to supplement most of that through other surpluses in other areas of the department in our budgets, but a lot of that had to do with those staffing numbers that I just described. When you have, we'll just say an easy number, when you have 10 that are not full-fledged officers, but yet the call load dictates we probably should have those 10 in service. You're backfilling those with overtime, with calling in additional officers, additional dispatchers, and those types of things, which offset some of your overtime budget as it relates to those things. So it is a give and take as far as that goes, but that's one of the things obviously that we continue to struggle with. So the other thing that I would highlight is the federal grant. One of the other challenges for us are federal grant and language changes. As it relates to the new administration, as it relates to the federal grants, some of that language has changed. So some of the language is becoming more restrictive as it relates to, do you have a DEI program, and or are you in fully compliance with the ICE executive orders? So some of those we have not been able to apply for grants. Others that we have applied for, language has changed. Others, the language has been fine, we've been able to apply for those. So that's really getting into the weeds as it relates to any of the federal grants relating to law enforcement. Those are things that we are reading line by line with the city attorney's office to make sure that we are in full compliance and that we're not going to put ourselves or officers or obviously the city in jeopardy of not being able to function with those. As it relates to the strategic plan and what the PD is doing to contribute to this, looking at access to opportunity, community empowerment and engagement, and obviously community health and safety, the police department continues to reach out and to engage the community through National Night Out, the Chiefs Community Advisory Panel, the Citizen Review Panel, which reviews our uses of force through internal affairs, our cadet program, our community engagement team. We have an officer there that is bilingual, and he's able to engage with the Hispanic community that's Spanish speaking. Obviously, it is an important piece for us, making sure that we are reaching out and that we are trying to be as inclusive as possible to all of our community members that we serve. Like I spoke about earlier, we have the Family Justice Center that we continue to move forward with. The Youth Resource Assessment Center, which has been a hole in the Adams County system, used to be the link, which is when we have a juvenile that we take into custody, or that we can't find the parents immediately, and we don't want to keep them at the police department. Jefferson County has had a juvenile assessment center for years. The Adams County had the link, and that's been vacant. But here, I think in mid-March here, the Youth Resource Assessment Center should be stood up in Adams County. That's kind of be a step-by-step piece. Hopefully within the next year there'll be a 24/7 facility, but right now that's been a huge void that is coming. So continue to work with our co-responders, one of those being funded through the opioid settlements that we've received, so that continues to be a huge success for us. And then obviously our victim advocates. So we will continue to work on traffic enforcement, and I'm happy to report that last year we bought a speed trailer, which was very popular with the public, also gave us valuable data, but it also was that public education piece. We ordered our second one, and I'm happy to report the second one arrived today. So we will have that out and about very, very soon. So other than that, that is the presentation that I have tonight, and I would open up to council for any questions.
Thank you so much. That was very thorough. Council comments or questions? Okay, everybody at once. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Chief. My only question is around the Family Justice Center, because I know in conversations with Adams County, it sounded like they were considering contributing less to that project and asking the cities to contribute more to fill the resources necessary. Is your expected budget request reflecting what Adams County is expecting our city to increase their contribution to?
So Appreciate the question. It's one of those questions that I as well have. We have not received anything specifically informal saying, hey, here's the contribution. Our funding model that we asked for was the funding model that we use in other models within both Jefferson and Adams County based off of population. So that was originally where we went. We have not seen any final numbers. I'm not comfortable bringing something to you or to my boss if it's not similarly reflective, either based off of call load or population. So I don't know that I'd be able to come back to you with that. When I have those specific numbers, I absolutely will bring those to you, but don't have anything specifically as of yet.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the reason I bring it up is because we obviously all have conversations with the commissioners, and if that funding model isn't appropriate, I think we would like to hear about it so we can have that conversation with them directly.
It's going to be, I will just say, as everybody knows, it's a challenge but with both counties and obviously budgets and the constraints there. Adams County is asking for money for the Family Justice Center. They'll be asking money, which we already have some set aside within our current budget for the Adams County Detox. At Crisis Center, our understanding is that is going to increase as well. I think we have planned for some of those increases, but then you have also the Youth Resource Assessment Center, which we already have in our budget and have been planning for that. So I think the big ask will be for the Family Justice Center. The other piece of that we're still working out that I'm part of this is what I'm sharing with the Thornton chief is understanding what that resource means non-monetarily. What does that mean for staffing? Are we putting a detective or an officer there at the Family Justice Center? Is that something where we rotate? Is that something, we have a model of Porch Light in Jefferson County, which is another Family Justice Center, but we have to make it work for Adams County. Just because the things we do over in the Jefferson County side, and they're having issues with staffing at Porch Light as well and maintaining. When that was first opened, the idea was that the larger agencies would have a full-time FTE there, and then some of the smaller agencies will rotate people through there. We're still working through that on what that looks like on the Adams County side, but it's, as I already talked about with staffing, that is a concern for all of us. How do we do this? And how do we meet them where they are at and give them good service without sacrificing other pieces of this? It's a long answer, but yes.
Well, thank you. Let us know what you need. Thank you.
Will do.
Councilor Ireland.
Thank you for your presentation. So I know the police in a couple of situations just recently have gotten to fires before the firemen. Do the police get special training how to deal with fires when there's no firemen there yet?
Can make so many comments, Councilor. But no, the officers, some of that is luck of the draw. If it's in their beat and they're not assigned to a call, sometimes if they're assigned to a call, the way the fire stations are separated through the city, they're going to beat us to the call. But on those calls, they don't have specialized. They don't have specialized training. It is a deal where. They get some basic first aid and some basic, I would call it fire prevention training, if you will, in the academy, what to do, what not to do. But really at that point in time, it becomes what's the right thing to do. And in the one sense, I don't know that the city can afford to equip every officer with SCBAs and fire gear and all that type of stuff. And really there, it's what are you comfortable morally? We talked about this in another session, but morally, what's the right thing to do?
Bless them. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Barajas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for the presentation. I have, one follow-up kind of question or just kind of maybe potential curiosity. So maybe I'll start with that around the fire. Just obviously the protective, the kind of ROI on protective gear. But I do think that there might be some benefit in exploring some sort of SOP or protocol around exposure to smoke elements that might linger on an officer's gear and whether they have the opportunity to maybe go back to the station and change into spare gear if they're exposed to kind of chemicals. I don't know if there already is one, great. I don't even, but.
So we do, no, it's a great question. It's one of the things we actually installed a washer dryer in the police department loading dock several years ago because of that.
Okay.
Fire obviously is way more versed in what those carcinogens are and how those stick to you and that type of stuff. And so we learned several years ago that, hey, if you're involved in this, that's one of the procedures in place. Okay. Is when you're involved in that, you go back to the police department, take off your uniforms, put them in the city washer and dryer, if you will, in the loading dock, and get your clothes washed, whether it's cycles with other clothes or not, other department clothes, that type of thing. But doing what we can to minimize those pieces. As it relates to the officers some of the officers do have safety masks, and that's one thing that we are exploring. Is there other opportunities there to outfit everybody? And then with that, in the fire, the trunks of the cars, they should all have fire extinguishers. Doesn't usually help much in the big house fires, but for some of the smaller ones, they do have those.
Great. I have I'll maybe start with just a positive note, or thank you for the kind of focus on community outreach. I think it's great. Every single member of the city who can kind of do that community outreach, I think, kind of meets certainly the goal of this council, but also I think of city staff's goal of really engaging with that. As you're exploring other options, some things that could potentially work to reach kind of newer community, or not the people that kind of show up typically to the police events, are mutual aid options. Particularly, I think of Councilor Zadi mentioned the food drive earlier, but kind of mutual aid programs like that. I don't want to say the city or the police budget should necessarily go into that, but just maybe it's opportunities for kind of on their civilian life to participate in, Westie police officers kind of dip into those things. Just one question, if you have data on it, I'd be interested, but even just your general take on the overtime challenge. I'm curious the amount of officers that are kind of forced, and forced is a strong word, but hey, department-wide, we need these uptakes, versus, are they all, fighting for the open spots because they want that overtime pay? I know that tenor can kind of die down the more and more they take on. So I just didn't know if you could kind of dive into, maybe 20% of the overtime opportunities are very easy, but the 80% are really difficult, and we have to kind of highly encourage.
I would say it probably depends on the time of the year, and it probably depends on the unit. So when I look at emergency communications or dispatch, there was a time actually not long ago where it was forced. You knew signing up that on one of your days off you were going to be working overtime. Because we didn't have a backup system. I mean, and I hate saying that, but it was you call 911, the expectation is somebody's going to answer the phone, and we had to have that. And to get somebody trained properly in there to do that takes several months. And so they worked through that. And like I said, right now, knock on wood, there's one vacancy in there that we're in a hiring process for. There's 6 in training. They're all doing very well. So it's reassuring we're getting there. But now they're back to, hey, we have overtime shifts, and those are being filled voluntarily for the most of them. There's a little bit of mandatory overtime, but it's not what we experienced a few years ago. As it relates to the officers, a similar situation. I would say probably 80% of it, maybe a little bit higher, is voluntary. There's the occasional, hey, we need you to stay over until we can get somebody to backfill, that type of thing. What I will tell you is consistently, historically, January through March, we don't have a problem filling overtime. Nobody's taking vacations. Everybody's paying off their Christmas debt, and we haven't gotten into the vacation season yet. Okay. When you start hitting summertime is when we really have difficulties. Yeah. Everybody's on vacation. Obviously, you have kids out of school, that type of stuff, and you have life to live outdoors, that type of thing. So there, we run closer to minimum staffing, and then from there, having people come in, it's more of a mandatory piece as opposed to a voluntary piece. Then in the fall, it's kind of a mix, actually, but you get back into the holidays are coming up, and we got some bills to pay, so if there's an overtime shift, I can jump on that.
Yeah, it sounds, thanks, Chief, for that. It sounds like there's opportunity to reduce cost with kind of keeping staff continuously on board, the fact that we don't have to backfill for just kind of allocated FTE, there's potential cost savings. So I'd be certainly interested, as we go through the budget process, ways that we can, even if it's a budget expenditure, to kind of get to budget savings on having continual kind of employment, so we don't have to kind of hit at all. I would love for all overtime to be voluntary in that way. So I know you would too, and I'm sure this council would as well. So thank you.
Anyone else? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Chief, for this. Just had a couple of questions about, one, the SROs that we have. Is there, I can't remember if there was a request or not from the...
So there, as far as I'm aware, there have been 2 requests so far. And we're expecting, I've been told to expect more from the school administration. I think some of that depends on their budget and what they can do. Currently with the school resource officers, for all 3 school districts, and for the academy, we have a intergovernmental agreement in place where 50% of the salary is paid for by the district. The other 50%, as well as benefits, are paid for by the city. We wouldn't look to adjust that, quite honestly. But with that, I'm aware that Westminster Public Schools and Adams 12 have both reached out saying we would like an additional SRO. What my goal is to my boss is to make sure that, one, that we have, if there's 4, we have all 4, that they're all on the table, but also to look at where we are experiencing challenges in relation to call load and where it would be most beneficial to us. So if I'm coming to you asking you for 1, 2, whatever that number is, and obviously, getting council's input in that, we're looking at it as more of a community request at that point in time. Hey, here's what the community's asking for, that piece of it, but also to come back to you and give you here from an internal perspective as it relates to call load and our resources, where we feel that we would be, the biggest return on investment would be as it relates to that.
Okay. Yeah. So potentially might ask for that. Okay. Yeah, because I remember it was Westminster High School, I think, was one of them, right?
Westminster Public Schools is asking for 1 at Hidden Lake High School, which is at 72nd Lowell. And then Adams 12 is asking for an additional school resource officer at Mountain Range High School. We already have 1. They're asking for a second. To give you an example, Westminster Public Schools at Westie High School has 2 FTEs, the SROs at Westminster High School.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
I'm hearing about that. And then the other question I have was just our joint city efforts with respect to speeding and racing on the highway and other drags that we have. Is there a cost to that, or is it just more kind of a joint effort?
It's, I guess I would say both. I mean, some of it depending on exactly what you're asking, Mayor Pro Tem, some of that is handled through where we're flexing schedules. Like if instead of having traffic work, day shift, they're going to work a swing shift or they're going to work a night shift. So some of that is handled through that, but some of that is also handled through overtime. Again, just it's not like we don't have speeding vehicles during the day. So when we get into the cruising or the street racing and those types of things, we'll do both. We still do one of the task forces, which is more of a state, and it's run by State Patrol. We're still a part of that. We still do the Adams County Task Force, and then we do our own when we know that we're having issues or we're going to have, we have intel sometimes that comes through. Hey, there's going to be a big car club meeting at such and such business tonight, and we know that's in the city. We're foolish not to make sure that we're taking those actions appropriately. What I will tell you is doing some of the stuff with the other agencies becomes a force multiplier. When you have State Patrol, they're able to bring an aircraft to this, so then you don't get into pursuits. And if you have egregious violators, they have the plane that's up there circling and follow them home, and then getting that agency there. So it becomes obviously resource intensive, but at the same time, it becomes much more of a safety issue. And so you do those things, but then it also becomes, if we have a car club that, I'm just going to say, shows up at Lowe's here at 88th and Sheridan, and they pack the lot at 10 at night, we know Lowe's is closed, and they have a trespass agreement. That's one of the things that we have worked hard with our businesses and those private lots, is making sure that those large lots that we have the ability to trespass somebody, and that's our relationship with the business owner or the property management to make sure that that we've already spoken with them ahead of time. Do you want people hanging out here? Do you want that? 9 times out of 10, they say, no, we don't want this. And so we've made those relationships prior so that we can curtail those efforts. But then when you have 2 or 3 traffic officers that show up to 500 or 1,000 cars, it doesn't resonate real well for us or for them. But when you show up, when you have that group that shows up of other agencies that are working on enforcement that night, and you show up with 30, says something different. It says something that they go, okay. And so depending on where that is and the resources that you can bring to that, has paid dividends for the city, where we don't have, not going to say never, but where we don't have groups congregating in those parking lots. Now, as everybody knows, we still have issues with them going from one location to another on I-25, on Highway 36, those types of things. We're looking for different ways that we can do that, but we're also limited by case law. We can't just go in and, as much as we would like to, close down a lane or close down 2 lanes and divert them to a different city. Some of those things we've looked at as innovative ways, but at the same time, we know legally we can't do some of those things.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, I could keep you, but I have a lot of comments of my own.
Sorry,
I'm almost here to keep you. I just want to say big kudos for the presentation overall. You covered, it was very well-rounded, and I saw that you added a lot from last year. I'm excited to hear about the ABLE training. Thank you. I was a little apprehensive when I heard about the 911 overhaul, because that can be intensive and expensive. It sounds like that we have dollars. Is that entirely covering it or partially covering it? It is 100% covering the installation of the new product and all of that. The only thing that we will have to pick up over time, and that is it's a highly reduced cost, because the JCEC funding would be if there's a maintenance issue in 3 or 4 years, but most of that is all covered through the JCECA. Okay, so that's great.
If there's an issue, obviously we would have to call out some of our personnel or some of IT, but that's also the contractors that they have on call for that. So it's a, I don't want to say anything's free, but it's a highly reduced cost to what, if we didn't have that funding ability that we would pay for.
Okay, well, that's fantastic news, because that can be a long project.
Yes.
And then thank you for bringing up the de-escalation that we're continuing to work through, and the ongoing training for that. I just want to follow up. I never, from our last year, and I hope to join again for another de-escalation training this year, whenever my schedule finally allows. But I do want to follow up on those videos. Did we ever get more context on them around the bias,
We did. Some of that was some of that was with the instructors. Some of that was content that we were getting from other departments. And what we were trying to do when I asked the instructors, some of that they were trying to find the video that fit the I'll say the case study, or where they were trying to give an example. And so a lot of that they were picking and choosing. They didn't have 20 videos to pick from. They had, well, this one fits what I want to teach. So we're still continuing to look at other opportunities for that. And I think really with body cameras and where they're at, I think there will be a lot more opportunities to be, however you want to look at it, more selective or less selective as it relates to some of those things. Yes.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point. I think hopefully in the last 5 years, we've really broadened the range of training videos available.
Yes.
So, and then it's really good news that we're still looking into the traffic cams with Avis. So I'm excited to hear about that, hopefully coming on board soon. I just want to say that it is absolutely mine, hopefully I can get support from council, but goal to really try to tackle speeding. I mean, I think every counselor has come on in the last however many years and said they're going to do something about speeding, and I live on a corridor where I know a motorcycle went over 100 past me last night, you know, and so I just want to figure out how we can really concisely tackle that this year, you know, come back with a plan of, is that, you know, 2 nights every month that we're looking at these streets between 12 and 2 a.m., you know, or what does that look like? Because that is the one consistent thing I have heard every single time I've knocked doors all over the city, from Church Ranch to 92nd. I'm glad we're still working with Adams County on these things. I just think that we can make a real concerted effort to hopefully make a dent and make a difference so that folks finally understand that maybe our community is not amenable. You know, they can't get away with it here, at least. I think that would just be it's a huge opportunity for us. And then thank you, as Councilor Barajas mentioned, I know you're really working on those concerted efforts around engagement. I'm really excited about that. Thank you. I think now of all times, you know, our community needs to know who you are, what you're doing for them, bringing that morale. It's a two-way street, you know. Hopefully it helps officers getting to the community, getting the community to know you. And so I'm really excited to see a little bit more of what that looks like. And I know you're working hard on it, so thank you.
It's very important to me, Mayor, in that aspect of one of the things that I ask as a police officer is, when you call me, trust me. But you can't trust me unless you know me. And in order for us to have that opportunity to know each other, we have to engage. Right. And we haven't as a business, we as an organization, and you know, we haven't always, that hasn't been our strong point. And so we are, I can tell you, 300 individuals that work across the street are working hard on that. Some of them are more introverts than extroverts, and it's not always the easiest thing, but they understand that that's a piece of the job that we're in.
Thank you. Yes. That, I cannot tell you how far that goes with our community. Thank you. Really excited to hear about the new speed trailer, and as well as the less lethal force with the tasers. That's a huge one. We've seen that come up a few times. Just want to follow up on our discussion a few weeks ago about Flock and just see where we're at with that.
So having some numbers there. So currently we have 14 license plate reader cameras. 7 of those are Flock. The other 7 are different companies. Those 7 that are Flock, we are under contract with them until June of 2027. So in order for us to break the contract, we would need to pay in full. That is about $21,000 to replace those. If we were to go camera for camera, we have a couple of different quotes, and it really depends on the company, and then also the length of service, how long we want to lease these. We can go like with a company like Axon. Axon's the same company that makes our body-worn cameras and the tasers. Axon has LPR cameras that cost, depending on which company you go with and the leasing of it, you're talking between $60,000 and $80,000 over a 3 to 5 year period, depending on what that lease is. So there is an opportunity there. You know, the one, and take Flock aside, the one thing that I would make sure that I want to make sure council's aware of is all of the license plate reader technology. That's what's contained in the red light cameras. That is what's contained in all the speed cameras. That is what's contained in all the license plate reader cameras that we use in the state of Colorado. License plate readers have been in effect and useful for the last 15 years in the state. Flock is a name brand. So Flock is right or wrong, whatever it is, we can absolutely do that, but I just want you to also understand the technology is the same in all these cameras. Really what the piece of it is what is done with that data, who owns the data, and where does that data live. We have asked the license plate reader companies as it relates to the speed cameras and red light cameras that the data is ours and that we control who we share that with. And so we will continue to research that if we end up leaving Flock, if that is the direction that we receive and we leave Flock early, you know, that type of thing, we would work with the other manufacturers to understand how that data is shared. But again, wanting to be transparent, I also want everybody to know it's the same technology. That technology does not change.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the follow-up and yes, understanding that it's really the data we're concerned with. Thank you. And And then on our SROs, this is something that I'm hoping that we have available data for, and if not, that we can figure out. But I'd love to know, how many interactions they have each year, whether it's year or daily or monthly, whatever that looks like, and who it is that they're interacting with, and what do those interactions look like, and just trying to feed us some of that. What is their daily job look like with the students?
We track most of that information, and that'd be information that I'd be more than happy to share with council. What I don't know, where I think you're going, what I don't know is if we collect demographic information of those that we interact with. I will ask on that, and if we have it, I will absolutely provide that, but I can absolutely provide each of the schools and the breakdown and the number of contacts that we make, the number of counseling sessions, the number of tickets, the number of mentoring opportunities, the number of all those other pieces that are essential, quite honestly, in my opinion, to the school resource officer program.
Thank you. That was exactly it. I have demographics right here, so
yes,
thank you.
I will look on that. I don't know if we do or not, but I will absolutely. Some of that is it's shared with the school district, and some of that we work in conjunction with them of what is important for them to track as well. And so we're cognizant of what our partners want. So I will look at that and research it and be more happy to share that.
Thank you. And then last note is just something that's come up time and time again to me, and I think it came up last year for several of us, is the cost of obtaining footage. And so I don't remember right now what our cost is. I think it was like $50, which doesn't seem like a hurdle to me, but maybe we can look at what does that look like depending on the income, demographic of the person applying for it. And then I've also folks need several applications because you only get a small little bit. I know that we redact a lot of it. I just want to make sure that folks are able to able to answer the question that they're trying to answer, and that we're not purposely or we're removing as many barriers as possible to getting them what it is that they're asking for. And that came up again recently for me. And so I promised to ask and look into it.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I actually met with a community member within the last couple of weeks, and one of those kind of stemmed, we went down that avenue as it relates to the cost of body-worn cameras, and I'll say kind of both sides of where this is at. The cost we surveyed, it caused me, we had a complaint, didn't exactly stem from body-worn camera piece of it, but there were multiple layers in this request. And it caused us to look to see where we at with our neighboring jurisdictions. How are they doing things? Are we different? Are we an outlier? That type of thing. As it relates to the cost of the body-worn camera footage, we are actually average to a little bit below average. We're at $35 an hour as it relates to that redaction process and that whole piece of it. That right now, most of our partners are between 35 and 40. Jefferson County, for an example, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is $40 as it relates to that. So we're in the ballpark. Mm-hmm. It's whether that's good or bad as it relates to that. What I will tell you is if you are charged with a crime, and part of the discovery process for the criminal piece of this is you will ultimately get a full unredacted copy as part of your defense. That is law. That is and City Attorney Franklin can probably comment on that maybe a little bit more if I'm not quite as eloquent, but that is part of the discovery process for your court case. Where we charge is a public, somebody wants ultimately a redacted copy. We're mandated by law to redact certain pieces of information in a video. One of the things that we won't do, some people will come in and they go, I only want 2 minutes of the video. We can't get into which 2 minutes. Well, I wanted the minute before that. I wanted the minute after that. Well, I wanted this incident. And you get into you start getting into the hypotheticals, but you get into the lack of transparency. We didn't release the whole video. So when we do a video, we may work with you to see this officer's view captures more of this officer's view captures more of this. I mean, think if we all had cameras on around the table, the different viewpoints of what that looks like. So we we will try and look through those to give you the best opportunity to say, hey, if we were to provide you this is kind of the view of this. This is kind of what you're looking at dollar-wise as it relates to what we think it's going to cost us to go in and redact. Now, if we try and give them an estimation, we try and hit that estimation. If we are way off, we will eat the cost, but it's also one of those things, if we're way over, we're not just going to charge you the high price. We come in and we're transparent and honest about that piece of it. But really where the big cost comes in making sure that each of those video frames, there's 10 frames per second when you're talking about video. And we have to make sure a lot of it is done using artificial intelligence that aids us in what we do. Say you have to, say during a traffic stop, we'll just, as a short version, you come up and you have your driver's license, registration, insurance information out. We have to redact the driver's license piece for a publicly released video. Think of it, because once we give it away, we have no more control. So you can say, well, I'm not going to share this, I'm not going to show this. You can make all the promises in the world, but obviously this could end up on the 10 o'clock news. Now we have somebody's driver's license with your name, your date of birth, your address, all that type of stuff there. We have a duty and an obligation to make sure that video, that all 10 frames, because if you have one frame in there that's not redacted and it's a sex assault victim, it is a domestic violence victim, it is a, think of the absolute worst case scenario. Now, all the engagement in the world isn't going to save us from the trust that we've just lost, not only from that victim, but from the community. So it is, and it's labor intensive. I mean, it absolutely is. It has to be done once, and then the whole thing is reviewed again by a second person. Because again, I can't come to you in 2 months and 2 days and 2 years and go, hey, we were close. This is one for our sake, for the council's sake, for our community's sake, we have to nail 100% of the time. And we absolutely continue to look at, are there other opportunities to do this? But really when we get into the crux of this and we're talking to the community members and we let them know that if you were a defendant in a case, you will get an unredacted version. Obviously that's got to go through the court process, but you will get that as part of your discovery for your defense. That takes a lot of the wind out of the sails as it relates to, oh, okay, I'm going to get, you're absolutely going to get that if you continue on in the court process, that piece of it at those certain steps. But like I said, we're mandated by law to make sure that we have redacted certain articles and certain pieces in that, and that is where the labor intensive pieces come in. It's one of the things that in that realm, Councilor, one of the things that we talked about during last year, I think it was last year's budget cycle, was adding dash cams to the cars, because currently right now we have the body-worn cameras on our, but if we were to add dash cams, we are going to have to add, if we add that piece into our budget in 2027, we are going to have to add an FTE just to handle that volume. It's not my favorite coming to you saying that, but in full transparency, if we go down that road, because of the amount of video that we're going to have and categorizing it, but also redacting that, because it would be video on multiple sides of the car as well as the back area where the prisoner sits. So
that is extremely helpful.
It's a long answer, but we continue to look at that because it is, when you look at getting a copy of the report, and a report can be 100 pages long, and it's $15, $20. We got to redact some stuff out of there. It's not a huge expense, but when you start talking about the video, it's absolutely labor intensive, and it's not something that we, as a police department, as your police department, can make a mistake on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of your information. Much appreciate you and your presentation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That moves us to our second presentation on department priorities for HR.
Hey, good evening, the Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilors. My name is Davey Godfrey. I'm the newly designated Chief Human Resources Officer to match our CIO and CFO titles. And tonight I'm going to review the 2026 HR priorities, the factors that are going to affect that progress, and how HR supports the fluid strategic plan. You'll see a lot of mention from me and on the slides of organizational vitality that came up during our strategic planning session. So I know that's still going to be in there in some form or fashion from our discussions there. And so that's where I really lean in on. HR is part of the city's organizational backbone. And the things I'm going to be talking about tonight fall into three focal areas: modernization, fiscal responsibility, and maintaining workforce strength. And there's our organizational chart, as Chief showed, and you'll see where we're circled there. And as Chief mentioned, we're one of the departments to report to a Deputy City Manager, Larry Dorr. And our impact does reach every department on this chart. HR's does, and organizational vitality is citywide. For our budget and staffing, you'll see that about 80% of my budget is personnel. Of our 5.3 million there, about 80% is personnel, but we're personal service oriented in my department. Staffing of 28.5 FTE. We support over 1,100 full-time equivalent employees, up to 1,800 or so when you count our non-benefited, and even more when you count the volunteers that also help support us and their fiscal impact. And some of the things that we support: workforce systems, compensation structures, leadership capacity, benefits and retirement. And the key message I have on this one is we're a small team in HR, and we support the entire workforce, and that's why prioritization of what we do matters. And speaking of priorities, so here's our 2026 priorities. I've put these into 6 major initiatives for the year, and the first one being collective bargaining agreements. This is a team effort. It's not just HR. It's something that we're really passionate about, but it takes a team effort from the city manager's office with some of our policy guidance, city attorney's office, the policy and budget office, our respective negotiation teams, our outside attorneys that we hire. This is truly a team effort for collective bargaining agreements, and those are going to be starting ideally. The dates are for April for fire, and we're still looking forward to that. I know that the ordinance is still in flux, but we're still looking at an April 20th start date for interest-based bargaining for the fire department. The second priority is the compensation and classification study implementation for the benefit of the new members of council. So we budgeted for this study in 2024 and completed it last year. It was the first study of this magnitude in more than 20 years. And we're always about competitive and equitable pay structure. And we finished phase 1, that we had those changes go into effect the first of this year, back in January. And during this year, we're going to be still working with our consultant on some after work, if you will, to help get us there for phase 2. Those changes would be in effect in January of 27, and that's going to be more of some of the functional areas of our pay plan, job families and that sort of thing, just modernizing our pay plan. And again, you'll see those ideally with the next budget submission when we submit our pay plan effective January 2027. Performance management system implementation, we're almost finished with that. We started that last year with Cornerstone, and ideally that's our goals to be done with that the end of this quarter, so end of this month. But it's probably going to take a couple more months. We've got some, it's really comprehensive. We're having to pull in a lot of old information, a lot of good information on folks that have been here, so we can have good goal alignment there. All that information is still in the system, so we can maintain accountability and leadership development. Sustainable benefits package review. This speaks to the fiscal responsibility focal point that I talked about. Healthcare costs are rising. We're always doing things to try to keep those down. We're going to be doing a full RFP and taking a look if there's, right now we use Aetna as our main plan carrier, and we we're going to be looking to see if there's anybody that's more competitive, that has equal or better customer service out there. One of the things that we do to try to keep our costs down is through our employee health clinic, aka the Center for Healthy Living. If you haven't been to it, you can go check that out it's over at the City Park Fitness Center outside of it there on the bottom. You can go check that out. It's right next to our the physical therapy has an office there as well. We do a lot of initiatives through the clinic with our blood draws or wellness initiatives to try to keep our health costs down, because the health claim avoidance is one of the biggest things that municipal governments are working toward, and we're using the clinics to get there, and then that's a big benefit that we offer our employees that are on the Aetna plan. The next one there is speaks to retirement security or defined benefit pension plan project. We're almost finished with that. You'll be seeing some more information about that. I think I briefed Councilor Hyde and back when you were Councilor Carmelia, when you first did your orientation, I talked to you about this is something we're looking at. We're finally getting to the finish line for that. As you know, the city doesn't contribute to Social Security, so this is one way that we can help our employees with retirement security, because if you've seen, things do cost a lot, and we want to make sure that our employees leave here and have a lot of security in that regard. And the last one there is and you've heard this again from a couple of other directors, the Enterprise Resource Planning Replacement Project, and my role in that is looking out for a good HR information system. And so this year we're going to be focused on working with the consultant that hasn't been selected yet, but that committee that selection team is looking at that, and we're going to help design an RFP that's going to ideally go out in January of 27, so we can field a new system. That speaks to the modernization focal point that I was talking about, and we really need to do that. The system we have now that we use, J.D. Edwards, we've customized it to the point to where the team that we've talked to from Oracle/J.D. Edwards has told us we've customized it to the point to where we really have to change to another system, even if we stay with them, for them to be able to adequately support us. So we're at that point. We're kind of at the do or die point when it comes to ERP. So next slide there on my priorities. Now, the factors that influence the progress or affect the progress on these things, the first one there is actually a good one, which is long-term efficiencies, technology improvements, and operational savings. Folks like to be part of an initiative that's moving forward, kind of like when Clint Eastwood directs a film. They don't do a lot of takes, they keep moving forward. That's kind of how we look at this, is whenever folks are involved in things like that, when it comes to change, they get motivated, they get excited, they want to do these things, but that does lead into my second point there, is these large simultaneous projects can be demanding of time. And so that's one of the things I have to look at, especially on my team, is you end up with folks that are juggling multiple glass balls, and while we're talented at doing that, you want to really watch out for burnout and to make sure that folks are not just doing as much as they can on the side of their desk. We want to do things 100% and correctly, and it's just going to take, again, some strategic planning, prioritization. We're going to be looking at that throughout the rest of this year. And the last but not least, which always affects every project we sink our teeth into, is budget stability and revenue projections. We're going to work closely with Policy and Budget Office as we have all of those priorities that I was talking about for 26. There might be a time where we have to call an audible and switch priorities midstream. I mean, we're prepared for that. We have to be agile and flexible in the HR department, and again, that's one of those things that budget realities just always stare us in the face whenever we have initiatives that we want to move forward with. Now, so I did mention this about how do we align with the strategic plan? So organizational vitality, that's one of the things that used to be one of our, well, I guess it still is until it's changed, a strategic priority there. But how do we strengthen that organizational backbone of the city? We've maintained low vacancy and turnover rates, some of the lowest in the Denver metro area, turnover less than 10% for the last couple of years, and vacancy rates less than 5%. Now, with the 3H additions, there's a caveat there, but so when you take those out, we're still less than 5% going back over the last 2 years, and so we're very proud of that. That speaks to a good, stable organization with stable leadership. And then competitive compensation, again, like I mentioned with our study, we're always trying to get there. I just did orientation today. Again, I don't know if Chief's still here, but had 2 police officers that came to us from other agencies close to us, really close to us. I love those kinds of poaching gigs because we don't have to actively do that. They come to us. They self-poach. And again, it's our competitive compensation, it's our stable leadership, it's our good management, and I scream that from the rooftops. I always tell them they're our biggest ambassador. Tell your friends, come to work for Westminster. If you like it, you can tell them they'll like it, and it's just a good news story all around. So I was glad to see those out of our 5 officers that started today. I was glad to see that 2 were from agencies that we compete with, and that just speaks to how well of an organization the Chief's running and just the city writ large. And then sustainable benefits and retirement. I've already talked about what we do to try to offer the best benefits we can as cost effective as we can. And we're always looking at improving in that regard. And that's why we're looking at the defined benefit retirement. That would be kind of our last little gold nugget there that we want to add. And then regarding leadership development and workforce pipelines, that's one of the things that I'm doing. I'm actually meeting with the Westminster Public Schools superintendent next month on what we can do to try to get in those schools, and I'm going to start branching out. You didn't see that on the 2026 priority. Again, I think that's going to be more of a 2027 priority. Our numbers are pretty good right now, and we have a lot of other things staring us in the face, but that's one of the things those things we have to do to get ready for that future generation of workers. We have a lot of schools in the area that are majority minority, and we want to reach out to them with bilingual products because we know when they take things home from the city of Westminster, we want their families to be able to read those, meet them where they are, and I'm very excited about that. And so I'm going to start laying the groundwork this year, and you'll see that on one of my priorities for 27. The important point of, again, how we support the strategic plan overall is a stable workforce is what we try to do. Everything speaks to that. Every priority that I have as the Chief Human Resources Officer, everything we do in HR is to try to create a stable workforce, because what does that do? That allows departments to focus on serving residents, and like we mentioned like you all mentioned at the strategic planning session, is excellent services, right? We're always trying to provide excellent services. That's one thing I can promise you as your CHRO is everything that I do is focused, and my team is focused on trying to maintain that stable organization for that serving residents. That's what we're all about. And in closing, this is a pivotal year for HR. It's going to be going on into my 4th year here. We got everything from, again, collective bargaining agreements, compensation improvements, performance management system, benefit sustainability, pension stability, the ERP system changes. Everything that I've talked about strengthens that organizational vitality. I do want to mention that organizational vitality, as I've always viewed it, it's not kind of a one and done. It's an always. I'm always looking at that. That's one of the things that I have to look at. And even if it's not on the strategic plan as a priority, trust me, that's going to be something that's always in the back of my mind. That's going to, when I go to sleep at night, I'm going to be thinking about the organization itself. What can we do to help all of our employees thrive and to provide the best services we can for the great residents of the city of Westminster? And again, our goal is simple: maintain that strong organizational backbone so the city can continue delivering excellent service to the community. And with that, I will open it up for any questions you might have.
Well said. Thank you so much. Questions and comments? Mayor Pro Tem Nermella?
Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. And I will just say I strongly believe in maintaining the organizational vitality. I think it's more of a how we live it kind of thing, like you just said. It's something that you do every day, and that's the drive behind the decisions. And I think that's kind of where we discussed putting it into the strategic plan. So it's forever.
As a guiding principle, if you will?
Yeah. So I didn't really have any questions. It just sounds like in reality, we're just going to be looking at increased pay potentially, and then some adjustments with that big study that we just did. Is that kind of the the biggest impact that we should be expecting?
Well, it's really more of just structural changes to the pay plan.
Okay.
We did discover that we were very competitive and met our 50th percentile goal.
Okay.
We had to make some adjustments that were effective in January it was a handful of folks that we had to bring up. But we're really competitive, and so we're maintaining middle of the pack, 50th percentile, and so council. I mean, you might see some again when we look at the market, but when we do market comparisons and like inflationary type adjustments, but regarding any overwhelming type pay adjustments related to the plan or the study, you won't see that this time.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Other comments?
Just thank you.
Thank you. My door's open if you ever have any questions. And thank you.
I just want to highlight your point on looking out for the well-being of all our employees. Thank you for that. Thank you. I know that a lot of folks are doing several jobs at once. And so thank you for really looking at, like you said, I know they're doing a lot on the side, but trying to do one thing at a time. And I understand that often means that projects take longer, but thank you for looking out for their well-being. And an ERP is no joke. So I wish you all a lot of luck. And I hope you have a really strong PM on that. And I recommend not going with the lowest bid on this one.
Sure.
It can become a tangled mess. I'm on one myself right now. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't want to ask them about body-worn cameras?
Oh, right. So we are now going to be closing the public session of our meeting. I don't know if we should all smile and pose for paparazzi back here or not, but we can get one photo with him perhaps. But that concludes the public portion of our post meeting, and it is now 9:36. And so with that, we will close it and begin our executive session. City Attorney, do we need to go around? We've already approved the motion.
Correct, Mayor. And so I would just await the clerk stopping the webcast on the live portion or public portion of the meeting tonight so that a separate recording can be initiated for the exec session.
Excellent.
And I need like a 3-minute break.
Excellent. We will take a short break. That concludes, and we'll meet back at 9:40.